So welcome to my Pillars of Eternity Lorethrough Addendum to the Endless Paths of Caed Nua. I have currently in the game proper just been to Twin Elms for the first time. So this is being recorded after I spoke to the Twin Elms and I read a little bit about Gallowayne and the Six Tribes and went to the Hearthsong Market, and then I came here. Couple reasons. One, because I was getting my butt kicked in Elmshore, I think it was called. Probably that's okay, but I thought I could come down here and maybe level up a little bit. But also, I wanted to explore the endless paths of Caed Nua, but I didn't want to make it part of the Lorethrough proper, just because it's already long enough, and I think there's just like a lot of combat down here, which I do enjoy the combat in this game, and reading more and more about it, I actually like it more and more. Like I've actually thought about maybe doing like a hard playthrough or something like that. I know I'm not reading that much what's going on in the combat log down here, but it's interesting. And I could see why people would find it very rewarding and rich to figure out what each of these enemies does to you, read the bestiaries, and figure out how best to actually fight these creatures, because every fight you get into is deadly. I understand that. I'm still just playing on normal down here, but I wanted to let you know about that. However, there definitely is some things down here that are lore worthy. For one thing, Kana's quest takes place down here. So whenever I come across something that I think will be interesting for the purposes of a lore through, I will record that as well. So you are not going, if you are watching this addendum, you are not going to see everything that I do in the endless paths of Caed Nua. Rather, I will be just exploring it, fighting on my own, and then when I come across something that's interesting, I'll turn the recording back on so that we can see what's going on and we can go over some of the lore down here. So yeah, I just wanted to give a little heads up on what's actually going on in the Endless Paths of Caed Nua. I don't know if I'm going to release this in tandem with the lore through proper, or if I am going to release this after the entire thing is complete. Still haven't decided that yet, but yeah, hopefully you are joining me for this as well. While again, the endless paths of Caed Nua are long and combat heavy, I still think there's some interesting things going on down here. So yeah, I will let you know when those things happen. So if we look at the map, yeah, I believe here, this door here was cut off from us before. We could not go past it when we came here the first time. There was some kind of barricade that was in the way, and now it's clear, so we are free to explore the endless paths. We just fought a spider queen down here, still in the first level, and we have now a unique stiletto called Oricht. Don't know if I'm pronouncing that right at all. Oricht once belonged to a prominent military instructor in the capital city of Eder. The instructor was a cipher, whose gifts were seldom used by his empire, and he grew frustrated at his superior's inability to see the potential of ciphers to perform key missions that no other force would be capable of. He began making his opinion known, and over time the opinion became more subversive and radical, until at last his unsanctioned activities got him charged with treason. The officer and crew that came to detain him, however, underestimated him as much as the Empire had, and with only this blade and the talents of his mind, he slew his would-be captors. He fled the city and embarked on a life as a duelist, obsessed with proving his potential to any who would question it. In the end, his life ended in the manner that the lives of the duelists typically do, and the potential he often spoke of would remain just that. The knife still bears his psychic imprint, and the wielder will often get flashes of the maneuvers of the original owner performed in order to deliver the killing blow of his opponent. Some regard this as a curse, but many find value in it, and use such experiences to better realize the knife's potential. Were it not for evidence of heavy use about the handle and pommel, Odricht would seem new, its cutting edge perfectly beveled and honed without a single nick along its length. So this is a cipher weapon, does it? And I've been kind of thinking that I might want to dual wield as Bjarter. Okay, pausing again. So here I am standing on what appears to be an enormous hand made of Audra and probably copper. This is still in the first level of the Endless Paths of Caed Nua. We see an exit here. I believe this just leads out to the middle of the Caed Nua estate up above. So I'm not going to go there now. But I wanted to point this out here, this hand that seems to be raising, and we're standing at its palm right now. So after moving into the door that was blocked before with the barrier, Kana says, "Here we are. To think we are so close. Beneath our very feet lie the endless paths built by Caed Nua, the great Nguithan king." Kana pauses. "Well, up here. This is all Adiran, of course, but should we descend far enough, we will find some real history."
To uncover that great king's tomb would be a dream. But it is one of his servants I am after. Gabranos, a powerful mage and a dedicated scholar, a keeper of lore, just as I mean to be. He was in possession of the Tanvi Oratoa, or whatever form of it preceded the one we know. I've seen it in ruins, alongside Gabranos' name, scraps of the same symbols and verses we know in Rauatai. He must have held the words in high regard. Or perhaps he was even the author.
So we're looking for this book here. You sound very impressed by this Gabranos. They say he held the power over the elements, Kana coughs, but I'm more interested in his writing. He was a prolific author. I haven't been able to translate everything, but I've seen enough to know that he traveled far and wide. If only we could have met him, what wisdom he could share. But we can follow his example and strive to learn from those around us, improve upon it. Why does this book matter so much? Rauatai faces troubled times. Once we were a unified people, but that's changing, and the Tanvi Orotora is the heart of that. We will learn more about Rauatai in the second game. There are those who say we haven't held to its instruction, that we've allowed ourselves to grow weak and polluted by our traditions, by welcoming foreigners rather than laying claim to the lands around us, that we must hold to those traditions if we are to make of ourselves a nation to be feared. My brothers would have it so, but we don't need to isolate ourselves to make Rauatai great. I know there's more to the chant. It wasn't created out of sand and water 1,000 years ago, but brought to Rauatai by the Nguithans, by a people that knew the value of alliances and shared their knowledge with us, and with that knowledge we made Rauatai what it is today. If I can find the original, I can prove it. They'll know that the chant is far older than we believed, that the Nguithans favored peace and the trade of knowledge, and if we follow in their footsteps, we can make a kingdom just as grand and lasting as theirs. Averting conflict is a noble ambition, so it seems like Kana is trying to find a reason for Rauatai to not be imperialistic by saying that making deals and peace is also a way for great empires to be great. And a lofty one, I know, Kana grins. I'm glad you feel the same. I feel it's the better course for Rauatai. We're a people of many races, and we've always stood together. I feel we are destined for greatness. Let's start looking then.
If my sources are correct, Gabranos will have brought the text with him. It will probably be within a library, or a tomb perhaps. It tends to be one of the two. Let's be off.
So here's the map of the Endless Paths of Caed Nua, level 1. There's like a little door right here that I cannot open right now. I'm wondering if there is like, it looks like there's some stairs here, so I wonder if once I go below, I'll be able to come up through this door. I'm not sure. But here's the hand that I was standing on before. You can see it very clearly in this map. And yeah, this is where Merwald was. He's dead now. And then this was the door here that was barricaded, and we are about to descend into the lower levels. In the second level, we fought some Zorps, and there was a dead Zorp in this room here. And when I examined it, it says, this Zorp is lying in a corner of the chamber. Its ribs show starkly beneath its scaly hide, and its breathing is labored, each whistling breath causing obvious discomfort. Sagani squints at the creature. This one's ill. See how dull the eyes are? It doesn't seem to be reacting to your presence. Examine the Zorp. With the survival of 5, we look at the sick creature over and notice its skin shows some discoloration with ugly patches of yellow and livid purple. It seems to match the symptoms of a common poison known as Mocha's tears. You also note that the discoloration is worse underneath the painted symbols daubed into the creature's skin. Mocha's tears. I guess cut the Zorp's throat to put him out of his misery. It's a nice thing to do. The Zorp barely makes a sound. There's a muted, wet gurgle, and then the creature lies still, blood pooling beneath the withered body. Soon enough, its eyes are glassy, empty of life. Did what you had to, said Adir. You work on a farm long enough, you come to understand it, even if it's never easy. A little bit further in, curled against the inside of this broken shell, is a tiny white shape. Only when a tiny toothed maw opens to let out a frightened squeak is it clear that this is a small worm recently hatched. Pick it up. I have a tiny white worm added to my inventory. It's a pet. So same level, level 2. We see some Zorps over here over a pit. And the Zorp High Priest. Stepping into this chamber, you're assailed by a cacophony of screeches, growls, and barks. Blood-spattered Zorps dance in frenetic, leaping motions. To one side, a Zorp plunges his hands into a bucket teeming with blood to daub patterns onto others eager to join the rites. At the far end of the room, one Zorp, wearing a long skull of a young drake and vibrant feathers, shakes a staff towards the gathered Zorps, screeching and clicking. The High Priest suddenly raises the staff above his head, shrieking with renewed vigor. He swings the staff downward to point it at the pit, and then at you. I'm not sure I like that suggestion, says Aloth. Looks like he's saying, get these intruders and throw them into the pit. See down here that these Zorps are fighting with worms. They often worship dragons and the like. So where you find Zorps, often you will find worms or drakes or maybe even dragons. Turn back. There is only death upon the endless paths. Okay. Warning us to not keep going forward. This wide pit descends into a grim darkness. You hear the whistling howl of wind, and from time to time hot gusts of air tug at your clothing. Examine the pit. The chasm appears to have been dug out with tools rather than being a natural formation. It seems to be very deep, but you cannot see the bottom to gauge the distance. Let's use a grappling hook to descend into the pit, and hopefully Kana's okay. You take a grappling hook from your pack and tie it off neatly around the heavy stone blocks surrounding the pit. A few hard tugs suggest the rope will hold fast. Keeping a firm hold on the rope, you begin your descent into the darkness. Soon, the edge of the pit is far above your head, and you can hear only the creak of the rope and your own breaths. You've lost an item, rope and grappling hook. Soon enough, however, you see another source of light, far below. Past the dangling end of the rope, you can see a dimly lit room at the center of which is a circular stone pool. The pool is filled with blood, and even at this distance you can pick out various limbs and mangled bodies, largely Zorp in nature. The tunnel bored into the stone ends a ways above the chamber below, and your rope extends no further. Let's climb back up out of the pit. I feel like I just want to explore these floors on their own, and if we find out that we don't run into this blood pit anywhere, then we can always come back here. Leave.
All right, then.
The blood spilled from this bucket seems to have eaten into the stone. The rope tied to the bucket looks long enough to descend into the pit. So they're lowering something down there. The bucket is filled with blood and gives off an acrid stench. She recognizes it as Mogur's tears, a powerful poison. So were they poisoning Zorops and then lowering them down into the well?
And the fire shows me something.
We got Measured Restraint, a unique rapier. The favored weapon of a dear wooden noblewoman, Measured Restraint was not often seen in use, for its bearer was much concerned with propriety and felt that weapons should be the final resort in any conflict, though she was quite content to discredit or otherwise hinder those who slighted her. Once her temper was finally roused, however, the rapier spelled doom for her victims, for she wielded it with the proficiency of an old master and would not allow opponents a single opportunity to flee. Still on level 2, I found a broken blade. This is the upper half of a broken blade. The metal is of fine quality and it is unclear what caused it to snap neatly at the midpoint. Find more pieces of the sword, the blade of the endless paths. New task. So here's level 2 completely mapped out. See the pit here that the Zorops were throwing sacrifices down into. And here, this little tent or whatever it is where I found the broken blade. And paused it because we have a named ogre here. And they were green when I walked in here, but then they changed, so I'm just going to fight them. Okay, so after killing the ogres here, finds a diamond. This mostly colored stone is popular for its shimmering look, but is not especially rare and can be purchased at reasonable prices in most areas of the world. We got some ogre blood. The potent blood of an ogre, it seems darker and thicker than the blood of smaller creatures, though similar in all other respects. And we got Zola's torque, which is the reason I actually unpaused it here. This heavy, ornate silver torque is of a size to fit a very large ogre. On anything else, it might serve as a very uncomfortable belt. The crudely engraved runes along its length suggest this torque holds some ceremonial purpose, though you cannot decipher their specific meaning. So I wonder if that's tied to some quest somewhere or something. In the same room with the ogre, there's this sword and shield, bare arms on the wall, and it says a russet shield decorated with a many-leafed tree adorns the wall. A small engraving at its base reads, "The Earl of Yenwood." So I wonder if this was a place like where the Earl would actually be when it was part of the Yenwood. This staircase here, when examined, still on the second level, says this wooden scaffolding has rotted away, crumbling under its own weight. Around it are signs of an excavation, evidently abandoned. How long ago? Long ago. So people have come down here before trying to explore it, but it seems like they gave up for whatever reason. So I reached this area here, right in the same room actually as the stairs I just examined. And it has the map icon, and when I examine it, I can actually see Paths of Caed Nua here. We see the hand over here. This is what I have explored so far. Here's the Zorop pit. And we can just go from level 1 to level 3. So these are kind of like quick travel options that we have here. Still on level 3. Maybe I was saying level 2 before. Housed within the quiet alcove, this stone figure strides boldly forward, one arm held high. Inspect the statue. Judging by the style of clothing, the cracked remnants of the beard upon the statue, Kana suspects this is the Earl of Yenwood. A lauded warrior, he was known to lead his men into battle, wielding a gleaming saber. Nothing else I can do with it.
Keeping an eye out.
So we have a ogre here who actually is not attacking us on sight. Cast in orange hues by the guttering torches, a massive creature sits at the rear of this wide chamber. There is an acrid stench of blood and offal about the room, and a hot, malodorous gust wafts towards you as the ogre rises, stirring up the dust beneath its feet. If they had only known how many unwitting fools would wander into my camp, I would not have been exiled. Despite his words, the ogre studies you dispassionately. His pale, grim features are streaked with dried blood. But then, I think they have lost the taste for elf. Now they have feasted on one another for so long. The ogre turns away. I will not be fattened for the eating. You were exiled. Go but a little ways south, and you'll find what's become of us, once a dozen strong, and now we are nothing, our great chief enraged by voices, and our people driven to devouring one another. Cannibal ogres, then. And I, the coward, wait here to die alone. Easier said than done. He gestures to a heap of bones and cloth. Hunger has a will of its own. Matron Zola knows that well. Zola is the ogre that I killed already over there. Who are you? I am Tholgar, once most trusted of Zola's warriors. Once. The ogre shrugs a shoulder. It matters not. Go but a little ways south. Oh, I already read that. You're all starving? Isn't there something to eat down here? We have lived here for many years. The caverns have changed around us. Many old tunnels have been closed. Perhaps it's the spiders' doing. For a time we feasted on the Zorps and lived well, but the Zorp tribes have become diseased, poisoned, and we saw evidence of that up above. We did not notice at first, not until we too began to grow weak. Some of us became like feral creatures, maddened by the poison. Matron Zola, strongest of us, she did not go so easily. Her madness came slowly. Some of us went on eating the Zorps, of course, even knowing there was nothing else. They died painfully but quickly. Others tried venturing out into the Great Stair, trying to find a way out. Zola forbade us from leaving in time. If we could not find anything to hunt, then some of us, she said, must sacrifice themselves. You're cannibals. Yes, we have come to that. Even I have tasted it. There is no returning from that, I think. I will remember the moment for what remains of my life. What happened to your leader? Matron Zola. She was plagued with dreams from the moment we came here, terrible dreams of something down below. She was convinced we should not go there. Thulgar lowers his head. I told her it was nothing, thought nothing of it, until we discovered the poison within the Zorps. It changed her. Whatever the voice spoke, she grew harder, colder. Perhaps it was enough that the voice was never silent, though all those days and nights. Perhaps the poison made the dreams all the worse. It is harder, perhaps, to see madness in those closest to you, but I should have seen it all the same. Too late for that now. Give him Zola's torque. Zola is dead. I slew her and the warriors before I came here. Thulgar takes in a deep breath. He is silent for several moments. Then I should thank you, elf. You have done more than I could. It is not gratitude, I feel, but take this all the same. I will not need it where I go. Take care in this place, elf. It has unmade more than my people. I got Rundle's finery. I will remember Zola as she was before. Perhaps I will see her again in another life. New task, Desperate Measures. Task completed, Desperate Measures. Alright, let's check out this Zola's finery that I just got. Or Rundle's finery. The wealthy and well-educated, one Balian noble found himself all but shunned by his peers. He lacked an eye for fashionable dress and had no particular talent for debate, finding that he could not articulate any portion of it admittedly vast pool of knowledge. While his colleagues held grand debates on the intricacies of animancy or the state of the Balian republics, he stood apart. At last, desperate, the noble turned to a local wizard and requested a set of clothing which might elevate him above the crowd and give him opportunity to prove his wits. The result was a marvel, perfectly fitted and accentuating his features in such a way that he was immediately the center of attention. The nobleman soon found, however, that his plan worked too well, for it was the wizard Rundle whose name became associated with the fine clothing, and who found his work much in demand in the coming seasons. Gives you intellect and lore. Okay, pausing again. Here is the third level, almost all mapped out. This is the staircase where we got the map, and we actually got to see the endless path of Caed Nua in whole. This is the stairs back up to the second level. Over here is a room that I couldn't get into. This is where the statue was in the corner over here, and I couldn't really do anything with it then, so I wonder if there's something that we find later on that will allow us to open. It seems like there's a room behind this wall right here. But I'm going to move down now to level 4. Found a unique hunting bow, Persistence. Passed down through an Anutinic tribe, this bow is believed to have been blessed by the gods, for every huntress to wield it always returned from the hunt having successfully downed at least one animal. Arrows fired from the bow, it was said, would find their way unfailingly to a vulnerable point and fell their target. Rather than allow the bow to be possessed by a single person, the tribe considered it a gift to be shared among all its members. One young tribeswoman, however, coveted the bow and its power, believing she might rule her own tribe if only she had the weapon for herself. One day, when given the persistence for the day's hunt, she endeavored to separate herself from her fellow hunters and left, taking the bow with her. And I guess eventually she went to the endless paths of Caed Nua. We just opened a chest in the 4th level that had a Bloodstone Overseer seal and an expedition log page. The Bloodstone Overseer seal says this seal appears to be within an origin formed of a circular piece of white Adra shaped around a bloodstone gem. On the back is an engraving of a sword. So I wonder if that is part of the sword that we found earlier, or maybe this is what we need to open that path behind the statue. This is the expedition log page. This appears to be a page torn from some larger text. My journal is molting pages. I do not know if any part of my account will survive this expedition. We thought Jada lost alongside Edriga, but she has returned, carrying a strange seal and a smirk on her face despite her injuries. She is badly wounded, and Merrick is tending to her. I have been researching the seal in the meantime. It is of an intricate design, made of Adra shape around a small bloodstone gem. It seems one of our predecessors was attempting to translate some of the inscriptions in these ruins. According to his texts, these seals were carried by 3 Ingwithan overseers, all bearing titles: the Guardian, the Builder, and the Scribe. This one seems to have belonged to the Guardian, who was charged with defending these ruins against incursions from dangerous beasts. I have to admit, I don't believe he did a very good job of that. So maybe, since this is the Guardian seal, maybe that was who that statue was supposed to be up there. We'll have to find out. And we got a new quest to investigate the mysterious seal. Found a unique saber after quite a fight, actually. Resolution. It has been alleged that the saber Resolution can be traced back to an ancient line of warriors predating the formation of the Edir Empire, though the legitimacy of the claim has always been in dispute. What is known is that the saber has been passed down through generations of Yenwood earls, having accompanied them across the sea during the colonization of the Deerwood. The saber was held as a symbol of their noble lineage, and most formal portraits of the family include the blade in some respect. It was the youngest of the line who endeavored to repair the weapon so that it might serve more than an ornamental purpose. The blade was reforged into a weapon that struck hard and true, and the young earl wielded it during his efforts to reclaim the keep of Caed Nua, traditional stronghold of the Earl of Yenwood. Both sword and bearer were lost, never to be seen again, until we found him down here dead. Several missions were undertaken to retrieve the weapon when the War of Defiance arose, but none met with any success. So something that I've been finding a lot of down here is inscriptions, names of Eld Adiran people. So it seems that the Edir Empire spent a lot of time trying to explore the endless paths of Caed Nua and finding what is down here. And we find some dead Adirans down here as well with weapons like this. So I'm going to see if maybe Adair can use this, but yeah, that's it for now. On the 4th level, we found more of this statue here. We found the head of the statue. Seems still Adra in copper. Let's see what it says here. This massive face appears to have somehow been shaped out of living Adra. Each ridge is smooth and straight.
Solid Adra, hewn like marble. No, not carved, shaped.
So we just got something added to the master below. Deep within the caverns of the Endless Pass, I found a great sculpture of a head made of Adra. The face did not resemble any historical figure I was aware of, but the craftsmanship was beyond anything I had ever seen. Could this face be the depiction of the master below my steward spoke about? So I went back upstairs, thinking that I would have a place to put that little relief stone that I found, but instead it said place the saber resolution in the statue's grip. So yeah, let's see what happens. The saber slides easily into place at first, but for the last short space you find yourself having to push. You hear a hollow clunk as the statue's forearm suddenly shifts and rotates. You hear the rattling sound of some mechanism behind the walls at the statue's back. Closer by, the sound of scraping stone precedes a nearby wall, shifting out of place to reveal a doorway. Shh. So now we can go into this room here. It wasn't the relief stone, it was the saber. Behind this secret wall, we found Lauren's stick, which is a unique quarterstaff. Lauren was an elven wizard who earned his living traveling between villages and using his broad repertoire of spells to entertain the locals. He was known to be a mild-mannered man, and he avoided confrontation when possible, carrying only his prized walking stick. As Lauren aged, he found himself plagued by pickpockets, who would often use the distraction of his performances to steal equipment and coin. Lauren promptly decided to infuse his walking stick with an enchantment granting it great speed, and from then on, his performances were often punctuated by startled cries of thieves. So yeah, plus 20% attack speed. So that indeed allowed us to map out further level 3. So I think we have everything from level 3 now. This is where the ogre Zola was. This is where the ogre, I forget his name was, the good ogre, who he gave Zola's torque to. And this is where all the cannibal ogres were, over on this area. Here we see level 4 fully mapped out. We came in this way. We fought a lot of oozes and trolls down here. Not too much of note. We found the stone relief in this little room right here. And here, obviously, you see the head of the statue. So on level 1, that was its hand raising above its head that we saw. I may want to put this in here. Durance, your eyes open to a familiar scene. Durance sits with his staff laid across his lap, a malignant flame sprouting from one end. He is difficult to make out, his features soft, bleeding together, but the staff, you can see clearly its etchings glow in molten orange. Though Durance's face is difficult to distinguish, there is no mistaking the hardened expression, the furrowed brow. His voice hisses and sputters, low and unintelligible, as though having a private argument with the staff. Traces of spittle catch the firelight as they fly from his lips like sparks. And to your surprise, there is a female figure behind him. You are about to call out a warning when you realize it is the Mogren statue where you met Durance at the fork. Yet she seemed almost alive for a moment. Her cast shadow seemed as if it was moving, cloaked. Then it is still, frozen, with the night at its back. Examine the staff. There is something odd about one of the symbols, a circle of 12 smaller circles. One of the small circles glows brightly, but the other 11 give off little light. They flicker and fade like dying embers. Between his hissing curses, Durance lowers his face close to the staff and blows on the fading circles with panicked rapidity, coaxing light from them, but they do not ignite. One by one, the light of the circles dies, and smoke rises from their ashes. Only one still burns. Durance hurls his staff at his feet, and it clatters to the ground. Its edges have become soft, difficult to find. Like its owner, the staff has become a blur. I wonder if those circles were meant to symbolize the 12 people that died on the bridge, and Durance was the one that was still lit because he is the only one that survived. You close your eyes and reopen them, and Durance is there, picking up his staff from the ground, but the blur is gone, and you are awake. Find out from Durance what the fading symbols meant. So let's talk to Durance. And what must you say now? I had questions I wanted to ask you.
If doubts and curiosity plague you, You're skinning your knuckles on the wrong door.
I had another vision of you. One of the symbols on your staff. It was dying.
You see many things that aren't there, Watcher. Perhaps the symbol was for your disappearing sanity, and we are to bid it farewell while you still have the wits to grieve for it.
I saw a symbol with 12 circles. What does it represent?
That symbol? The God Hammer.
Then it was the God Hammer symbol I saw extinguished on your staff.
No riddle there, Watcher. It took 12 of us to build the God Hammer. Afterward, I took my leave of all of them to see what Margaret had in store for me. I've seen none of them since.
I said earlier that Durrance was the only person that survived, but that was obviously wrong, because there were a dozen people, including Durrance, that worked on the staff, that worked on the Godhammer bomb. But then there were a second dozen people that stood on the bridge to stop Aethys, and those were the people that died. Oops. Are you sure there isn't more to that story?
Your kind has a way of interpreting its visions to fit the version of the truth you like best. But Magren's flame leaves no room for interpretation. Waste the time of others with your distortions and your fever dreams.
Flames store all that lies around them, and you never seem to be far from a flame.
It's always the way of the mad to try to convince others of a reality only they can see. But when your doctrine's the truth, it requires no convincing, only an opening of the eyes. I would purify you, Watcher, if I thought it would help.
I don't think there's anything else to ask.
The cost of troubling me seems to worry you little.
No, let's keep moving. So once again, Durrance is being very standoffish about what we see in these visions. He's not really letting us know what they might possibly mean. And then we got a quest update to continue traveling with Durrance. We reached another map where we can fast travel to different levels here. Just wanted to show you. So we saw this before. We saw the hand. We saw the first level. Now we also have the head down here. We can see behind here that this is the arm. I don't think we saw that when we were actually exploring down there, but we can see in the map that there is an arm over here as well. And we can kind of see the beginning of that arm right here. His shoulder would be right here about. And then on this level, apparently is part of his chest as well. On level 5, we found another expedition log page. This appears to be a page torn from some larger text. Jada did not make it. I know Merrick tried his best. No point in turning back now. That's what Merrick is saying. I think the point is leaving these ruins alive. We have lost half our people already, and I am not sure how we are meant to survive this place, especially with Jada gone. The gods were kind to us to let us find that study in the books there. These tomes would fetch a good price in and of themselves. We don't need to go any further. But that seal has stirred his blood. He's sure we'll find more Gwithan relics below. Every step takes us further from a guaranteed haul, and deeper into unknown territory. I don't know what madness has gripped him. I cannot stop thinking about Edriga, the way she screamed. So first of all, he is mentioning these books here. I wonder if those are the books that Kana is looking for. Also, it seems this expedition, greed kind of took them over. They could have stayed here and sold what they found, but instead they wanted to keep digging further, and this person writing this notices that, and that every step they take further down into the endless paths, the further they are from actually achieving anything, and because they're going to die. So here, level 5, is, I believe, where the pool of blood is. That was if we had jumped down from the first level. Limbs and organs bob in this mire of blood and gristle. The carnage stirs with the occasional gust of wind from a tunnel above. And I believe this is what we would have jumped into if we jumped from that hole below. Okay, so I have reached the area right beyond the blood pool. And there is a Zorp champion in green, and you can see flapping wings up here. Looks like some kind of drake or something. So let's see. Drake. At the edge of this expansive chamber, encircled by a jabbering host of Zorps, stands a massive reptilian creature. Its snout is spattered with the bloody remnants of a recent meal, gobbets of flesh still speared on crooked fangs. The Zorps shift anxiously, looking up expectantly at the drake as the beast stretches leathery wings in challenge, brushing the pillars to either side. Yes, yes, more sacrifice. It flaps its wings briefly and stirs up great clouds of dust. Come here, elf. Be honored. Honored? Great honor, strength for lizards, blood for painting, good fortune. All this I give. I am merciful and great. It opens its jaws wide, revealing sickle-sharp teeth and a forked tongue. These Zorps sacrifice to you. Are you the master below? Pretty sure this is not the master below. But yeah, so Zorps are throwing their own and I guess others down into the pits to be sacrificed to this drake here. Master below is below. Sacrifice is not very smart. You think you see a section of the drake's scaled chest begin to glow orange as it laughs. Master made me lord here. Here, I am king. Flames gout from his nostrils and gaping jaws. I am god of fire and gold. So, in other words, this drake is not the master, but the master did have him rule over the first 5 levels, I guess, of the Endless Paths. Deep within the caverns of the Endless Paths, I found a great sculpture of a head made of Adra. Nope. On the 5th floor, I encountered a maturing drake. It was this creature which was feasting upon the sacrificed Zorps, and it was just old enough to speak intelligibly. It claimed that a master had granted it power before attacking me. There is a lot of things here.
Leave it to me!
That's... Let's get a good shot.
Drake dead. Let's see if there's anything on these people that gives us any more lore. We have Ilfan Birngar's Solace and Amulet of Health. That's nothing. This is a unique one-handed shield. Ilfan Birngar was not the most adept soldier. Rather, he was quite prone to stumbling over his own feet. Well aware of his failings, his family crafted him a shield of exceptional heft and durability, trusting that if he could not rain blows upon his enemies, he might as well at least prevent them from landing any upon him. The shield proved effective in this regard, for Ilfon was so thoroughly obscured by the shield, even while laying dazed in the mud, that many enemies sought out new targets out of sheer frustration. It's an exceptional shield, so I lose a little bit of accuracy when I equip shields. Is that right? Is that with all shields? Yeah, that's with all shields. So I am going to equip this one. Bjartur has had this crappy small shield for quite a while now, so I think it's time to upgrade him. Okay. Still on level 5, there was a small brick that we could push in this tiny room here, and it leads to some kind of treasure room. This Drake seems like had aspirations of becoming a dragon. It was alone down here, and it seems to have been hoarding wealth, meaning that it was staking its claim on this territory. That's it for now. In this treasure room, we've got an ornate sword hilt. The fine metal hilt is of unknown origin, though it does not appear to have suffered much weathering. And then the addendum added to the Blade of Endless Paths. So I found the blade and I found the hilt. Here is level 5, completely mapped out. You see the stairs. This is the master staircase where we found the map before, and we could view all 5 levels so far. This is the staircase back up to level 4, and we are about to go down to level 6. This right here is the blood pool that I think was at the bottom of that pit, way up on the 2nd or 1st level. And this room right here is where we fought the Drake, so he was guarding the exit to level 6. Wasn't on camera, but Kana, when we got down to level 6, said, "We must be getting close. I can feel it in my bones." Also, the architecture has changed. And yeah, you can see here that the stone looks much different than before. There's some kind of crystal over here. And we also found the expedition log up there that said that they had found a lot of books or something. So, I don't know. Maybe they knew where they were going and they got killed by the Drake that was up there. I'm not sure exactly what that is meant to signify, but the architecture definitely has changed. I wanted to unpause for a couple things here. One, the enemies have changed too, where it was wilders up above like Zorps and trolls and ogres and those kinds of things. Now, things are turning into undead. When I walked into this first big room here, actually, I got just like completely bombarded with maybe 20 undead. It was a lot. As you can see, Durance fell, but everyone else came out none the worse for wear. But also, I found another overseer, a peridot overseer seal. This one says, "This seal appears to be Ingwithan in origin, formed of a circular piece of white adra shaped around a peridot gem. On the back is an engraving of what appears to be a hammer." So let's look at the note that we got. Yeah, so the Guardian, the Builder, and the Scribe. And since this one had, the Peridot one had a hammer, I'm going to guess that this is the Builder. So we have the Guardian and the Builder so far. We're still looking for the Scribe. Kind of just stopped us. He says, "Tell me, do you feel any different? A little ill, perhaps?" "No, I feel fine. Why do you ask?" "I have heard it said that the Ingwethans set curses upon their bones for thieves to find. It seems the tales are false. In other words, these are the bones, possibly, of Ingwethans that are fighting us, because there's a lot of skeletons down here. And I am glad for it, of course." Seemed like he was actually kind of excited to see Ingwethan curses on bones. "When we beat these skeletons in this room, this spirit showed up, a lost spirit."
All right, then.
Hello? Is someone there? Oh gods, I can't see. I'm here. I cannot hear myself. How am I to tell him anything? Please, there's nothing here. Please, will I never be out of this place? You hear a gulping sob. Turn back, come no further. The gods cannot reach us. Probably stopping us from coming into this door here. So on the ground here was the body of Merrick, who we have heard about in the expedition logs. And on the body here, there was a bloody expedition log page. I'm thinking that ghost that we just saw was probably the spirit of Merrick. This piece of parchment is barely legible, having been held tightly in a bloody fist. The one clear portion of it reads, "Find the remaining 2 seals, so long as we leave afterwards as Merrick promised. Get the books and the final seal from the 4th floor, and run the rest of the way out of here. We'll find some new band of fools willing to take on the endless paths, sell them the keys to the deeper vaults, let them have all the glory. Meanwhile, we retire and live a long and quiet life, somewhere warm, I hope, somewhere far away from here." So it seems like somebody wanted to just run. The final seal from the 4th floor. Did we get the books and the final seal from the 4th floor? Did we miss something on the 4th floor? I have to go and double check that after I explore this area. And you know what? While I have it unpaused, let's examine this door. 2 large, heavy doors bar passage forward. In the archway above the doors are 3 small, round depressions, encircled by faded symbols. Each appears to have once contained an object, but all 3 are currently empty. Examine the left socket. At the center of the left depression is a stylized image of an eye. So the eye must be, what was it, the Seeker? And then there was the Builder, which is a hammer here, and there was the Guardian, which is probably the sword. So let's just examine the door again. The middle socket, at the center of the middle socket, there's an elaborate engraving of a sword. So let's put the bloodstone seal in there. Examine the right socket, which has the hammer on it. So I'm going to put the peridot seal there. And now we have to find whatever the 3rd seal is. Okay, so a little further away from that room, we found a sarcophagus with a sapphire overseer seal. This seal appears to be with an origin formed of a circular piece of white odra shaped around a sapphire gem. On the back is an engraving of a stylized eye, so that must be the Seeker, or the Searcher, whatever it was called. And now we can open the door. In the same room, there was a body of Drafton. We haven't heard that name, but he's probably one of the expedition people. Yeah, especially since there's an expedition log page here. He has Hirbal's protective skin on him, medium armor. The young village of Gilded Vale was beset by a particularly territorial fire dragon in the early years of the Deerwood's colonial period. It was believed that the beast was provoked by the construction of Radrick's hold nearby. The first Lord Radrick cemented his popularity and that of his house when he gathered a dozen of his finest soldiers and slew the dragon himself. So the first Radrick was a much more upstanding citizen than the latest Radrick. Hirbal, the master armorsmith of House Radrick, forged this armor from the beast's scales, and Lord Radrick II famously wore it during the War of Defiance. Despite the armor's exceptional durability, the many scars and scratches testify to the use it saw during the war. The tree engraved on the cuissus commemorates House Gathbin, which presided over the then earldom of Yenwood. That Lord Radrick went to battle against the Earl's forces when the Earl remained loyal to Edir was a source of great irony. So Gathbin is the name of the person who wants to take Caed Nua from us. So this has a lot of significance in this area of the world, in Gilded Vale and Radrick's Hold and the Yenwood in particular. Also want to read this expedition note. I do not believe that we will ever leave this place. I wonder if Merrick still does. It's just the 2 of us now, as it was when this all began, and the longer we stay, the more certain I am that it will be how it ends, too. We barely escaped the Drake. I cannot help but think I must simply not have been hungry at the time. It must simply have not been hungry at the time. I would call us lucky, but we'll have to pass it again on the way back up. I found Andres. I don't think he was alive for long, after that fall. But he made use of his time. The entire pool reeked of Maj's tears. The crooked bastard always did love his poisons. So yeah, we've been seeing the bodies of this expedition all throughout the endless paths down here. Okay, so it's time to open this door now. The left socket, put the sapphire seal. Try to open all 3 sockets contain Adra seals. Try to open the door. You brace yourself to heave the doors open, only to find that they open readily under your hands. With a great groan and a gust of wind, the path forward is revealed. Well done, we're further in than anyone else has managed. Let's keep going.
Something over there.
So here is level 6 all mapped out. Almost all these rooms had a ridiculous amount of vessels in them, or undead. As always, vessels here are singularly not difficult, but when they overwhelm you in numbers, they can kind of get hard to manage. We didn't do too bad while we were here, but there was a lot of enemies, and this is a pretty small floor too. We just got to update to Kana's quest. We've passed the sealed door which barred passage into the lower regions of the Endless Paths. Kanarua believes this was the site of Gabranos' work. It is a grim place, for all that Kanarua seems pleased to be here, and it may be best that we find him Gabranos' remains or his work with haste. On the 7th floor, I opened a chest and found a wind prism. This dark triangular block of stone is covered in pale undulating grooves. I wonder if that will be significant. I don't know. I will let you know. Okay, there's this pedestal to examine here. This strange pedestal has a round depression at the top. It seems to be missing something. These machines, they were making the blights. This room here has a different pedestal. This strange pedestal has a round depression at the top. It seems to be missing something. So all these pedestals in here seem to be powering the machines in the center. This one obviously looks like it is a creating fire blights. The one up here that we already went to, there was a bunch of earth blights in there. So my guess is we are going to find a bunch of things to put into these pedestals to turn off the machines. So down here I found a rain prism. So we found a wind and rain prism so far. This pale triangular block of stone is covered in deep parallel grooves along its sides. We also found an old copper key that is tarnished and worn with age. In another chest down here, I found a fire prism. This polished triangular stone gleams in the light, covered in gilded ornamental symbols along its edges. Okay, so this was the wind room, I believe. And we have a wind prism, so I'm about to hit this pedestal, see what happens. Automatically puts the wind prism in there. This kicked on somehow, but it didn't give us any text or anything to let us know what happened.
And the fire shows me something new.
A second pedestal here. We lost the rain prism. Before I get into this fight here, there's some Onomats down here. This is the first time I've encountered Onomats down here. We have an Odragon and some Blights. There was a lost spirit that appeared right in front of here that said, "Beware, traveler, greater souls than yours walk here." Further on in the room, that fight that you just saw me about to take part in did not end well, so I had to reload an old save. But it looks like we found Gabranos' study here. Kana is very excited. Here, somewhere. Oh no. Oh, I wonder if this skeletal wizard is Gabranos.
This was Gabranos. This was the great scholar I was looking for.
You said he controlled the elements. Looks like this is what he used that for. But why? He traveled everywhere. I found traces of his work on 2 separate continents. And he ends his days here, doing this? Was this the source of all that knowledge? Those experiments out there? The bodies? He was one man. That doesn't mean you were wrong about the rest of it. Maybe, but I was wrong about him for certain. I took him for an inspiration. I wanted... Oh, never mind. Let's find the tablet and get out of here. Don't put your heroes on a pedestal, ever.
Not a sound.
Got the Earth Prism, which is the last one that we needed. This smooth triangular block of stone bears gilded angular symbols and zigzag patterns along its edges.
This can't be it. But the symbols... No. I was so close.
Kana runs his fingers over the shattered remnants of the tablet, so the thing he's been looking for is shattered.
Look, you can see, there's his name. And these symbols. Virtue. Gods, the rest is too worn away. There must be something, a verse, even a word. Be like unto the waves, be wrathful as the sea, anything. Is there really nothing? Not even to explain this?
Kana looks about the room, his shoulders slumped. He bends over the shattered fragments, pulling the largest of them together. Removing a rolled piece of paper and a stick of charcoal from his pockets, he sets about forlornly making a few rubbings. Maybe you can salvage some small part of it. Isn't it enough that you found it? What? This shattered mess? I might as well bring back an empty piece of parchment. Kana sighs and sets down his charcoal. He gazes down at the fragments. But it existed once. It was here, whole. He runs his fingers over the stone. Maybe you're right. The tablet was here, and you still have the phrase you found in Ixametal. You were right. Tell that to the Lore College. But the Inguithans aren't as I believed. I thought for a certain that their words would favor peace. How can I go back and tell the lore chanters that we should emulate them? Kana looks down at the pile of stone. Gabranos was flawed. That doesn't mean you shouldn't advocate for peace. I suppose you're right. And then, he wasn't the only Inguithan in the world. Kana rubs his face. I just wondered what he saw in the Tanvi or Torah. What could appeal to someone like him? He gets back to his feet. Some of these smudges, at least, may hold meaning in time. I'll be glad to get out of this place all the same. I could use some air. So we completed Kana's quest. I'm sure there will be some more talking that we have to do to him with him at some point.
Hello?
And we have Alawan Ayn, which is a unique wand. An old Glenfathan legend tells of a young woman who loved a wanderer from a distant land. In time, he was forced to travel back to his homeland, but he promised to return. Years passed with no word from her love, and the woman fell into a depression, neither eating nor speaking. Even in the depths of winter, she refused to abandon hope, keeping faithful watch for her beloved by the shore when she last laid eyes upon him. Finally, she succumbed to her grief, and her heart froze upon the moment of her death, her tears becoming ice upon her cheeks. Her grieving family buried her with a nearby glade, and from her grave a strange elm tree grew. Its bark was the white of winter snowfall, its leaves blue and cold to the touch. It never lost its foliage in the winter, withstanding even the bitterest temperatures. This wand is said to have been hewn from that very elm, for it too emanates the chill of a broken heart. I love that story. Lost love? And a tree, a white tree with blue leaves. I would love to see that. Something I noticed here after I turned on the, I don't know, is the rain blight machine. You'll see here with my the circles that represent my characters, they're dotted because I'm in scouting mode. This red means that these people are seen. They're fully, they're able to be seen, and that happened immediately after I turned on the machine. So I'm wondering, is the machine capable of seeing us somehow? I wonder if that represents anything, or if maybe that's just like a glitch or an oversight or something. See it happen here probably. Going to put stone down. This is the earth stone, I think. Yeah, see, and then we're all visible. Interesting. We'll go to the last one, the fire. So all of these are lit. I don't know what happened.
Margaren's fire casts light in dark places.
Beware, traveler, greater souls than yours walk here. I told you about him before, but you actually see him get to come here. Turn back. Keep your courage and your spirit for the light.
I'm here. You're not getting through me. No, it can't be.
Red on. Careful, they're fitting our number.
Get the bastard through that one! Try it again, you caitiff! Leave it to me!
Adragon summoning things. It's not going well, but it's not going awfully either. You might be able to do this.
Yes?
Dead on.
All right, then. You're not getting through me. Leave it to me! You're not getting through me. This thing isn't doing the job. That's it!
Hey, we did it.
Let's see what lies this way.
Of course. Light, flame, and sound. We'll keep to ourselves.
I think we need another thing to put in this pedestal here. Oh, just have to touch it. Probably had to light all of the other prisms, or use all the other prisms. And that's everything for level 7. A very colorful level. As you'll see here, we have the green for earth, the red for fire, the yellow for wind, and the blue for rain. Alright, going down to level 8. Should probably rest first though, but you won't see that. Okay, level 8 now of the Endless Paths. Just found this unique crossbow called Good Friend. This crossbow was the prized possession of a pair of thieves that tormented the nobility of New Hamar for nearly 5 years. Stolen from the cart of a wealthy merchant, the gilded crossbow quickly began to feature in their crimes. One thief would approach the target in question, while the other wielded Good Friend from afar. The two are credited with many daring escapes, including one occasion in which one thief, destined to hang, was freed at the last minute by a last minute bolt through the rope. No threat of pain or capture could faze them, it was said, if either was caught alone, for they knew that sooner or later their good friend would be along to free them. So, a good friend to thieves is what that means. And I'm going to give that to Bjartra because he actually can use crossbows well. And that's better than this pistol, I think. Still on the 8th floor here, we came into this room with these peculiar structures that are being built here. And when examined, it says these ornate stone coffins are lined with Adra. Peculiar runes encircle the jeweled sphere at the center of the lid. We've been fighting a lot of vessels down here, including some vampires. So I wonder if this has something to do with why they're rising from the dead. If because it's lined with Adra, maybe it traps soul energy in there, and the souls inhabit the bodies that are in there. I don't know. So down in the 8th level, I found this very familiar looking machine right here. The one that has been used to siphon souls to create the Hollowborn crisis. When examined, it says nothing apparently. I did examine it before. It says, the runes and engraving upon this familiar machine are unnaturally well preserved. The machine itself remains inert and lifeless. So it's now defunct, but the runes are still intact. So I wonder if, like, members of the Leaden Key wanted to come down here and try and start this machine running again, if they would be able to actually do that. I'm not sure about that. But yeah, I wanted to point that out. In the same place, recognizing now too that this room with the Adra machine is on the exact opposite side of the room with all of the Adra coffins on the ground that I pointed out a little bit earlier. And there's this thing here that looks like it should be a door that opens, but it doesn't. I haven't seen any way to open it yet. I didn't see any hidden switches or anything like that, so I don't know if it's actually supposed to open or not, or if it just kind of looks like that. But yeah, this machine is on the direct other side of where those coffins are. Further exploring level 8, we see more of the statue here. Another hand. Thick copper veins run beneath the Adra surface, providing a skeletal framework that protrudes like bone from rotting flesh. I want to read that again. So yes, it is copper. Almost like a copper skeleton. So this enormous statue is made of Adra and copper. Also here on the hand, we have a Dargul who is highlighted green. So gonna keep recording here, see what happens. I wonder if there's someone that we can actually talk to down here. A vampire. At the center of this massive Adra structure, beneath the long shadow of the Titan's curled fingers, sits what appears to be a man. Unlike the slavering, animalistic creatures you've encountered on this floor, this man is regally composed, lounging upon a crooked stone throne, yet his gaze has a piercing, feverish quality. He watches you intently as you approach. What are you, then? One of theirs? Strange that you survived the planning stages. He speaks in fluent Ingwithan, you note, though his voice is taut with strain, so I wonder if we wouldn't be able to understand him if we hadn't yet learned Ingwithan. It must have been hard for them, those beggars, those cowards, but you won't go any further. No, you can go right back to them, your masters. Let them feast on you instead. So I think he's talking about the expedition team that met with failure down here. I don't mean you any harm. I merely seek information about the master below. Ah, you can understand him? Ask him everything. What an opportunity, says Kana. The man looks startled. He gives a short laugh. You understand. Look here. Even the foreigners speak our tongue now. Truly, we are an immortal people. So this guy is a former Ingwithan. I want to get a good look at him, but I don't know if I'm going to be able to. But that only makes it all the more clear, you see. You must be with them. How have they kept you so whole? You are remarkably well preserved. His eyes narrow. Attempt to pass, and you will go screaming back to the void, puppet. You're in Gwithin. How is it you're still alive? Oh, no, no, no. We do not share information with our enemies. Go and ask the others. See if they recall. If they remember who it was that sustained them all these years. I'm searching for the master below. I see your own masters have grown superstitious. Master below, indeed. How easily they turn from old loyalties. To think Caed Nua trusted their like. I won't waste another word on their messenger, even if it is quite nice to speak again. No, go away. I've had enough. This will sate me for another 100 years. If you're talking about the creatures in these old rooms, I've already dealt with them. Ha! Very good. He touches a hand to his mouth, brows knitting, and then laughs. Yes, it's all mine now. No more of their screaming. No need for any more pointless demonstrations of power. Go on, then. Go barreling down into the deep if you like, if the beetles don't make a quick end of you. Beetles? Voracious little devils. They're what caused this whole mess. You can kill one easily enough, but there's another great swarm of them chewing through the Audra. My Audra. There's only the arm now. In any case, they'll tear you apart just as easily as they do the crystals. He pauses. More easily. I had some questions first. Yes, yes. I said you could have some answers. What is it? Who are you? Did you want a name? I forgot those ages ago. Who's going to call me anything down here? There's me, and now there's you. That's all that matters. I was entrusted with the tests we performed here. The foremost, he taps his temple, Mind of the Age. None could rival me for arcane power save Caed Nua himself. He pauses. And perhaps some of his advisors. What was this place? Oh, many things. Our home, once. And before that, a place of great deeds, he chuckles. Those fouled chambers in there were once the site of incredible discoveries. We were given the bulk of this floor. There was construction, at all hours, of course. He gestures toward the Audra arm. For all our work was, of course, for Caed Nua's purposes. Think on it, he laughs. A dozen sculptors carefully crafting a fingernail. Souls flung from their shells in the floors above and below. And all the while Idros fusses over a cuticle. What kind of experiments were you doing? Why, we were preoccupied with matters of the soul. All of us were, because Caed Nua was. But here we toiled to find the dividing line between life and death and crack it wide open. We were attempting to find a means of binding souls to their mortal vessels, preventing them from crossing the shroud. I say attempting. We found it, of course. A dozen minds set to purpose. How could we not? The things we learned. What a glorious time. We could determine the precise manner in which a soul would crack and shatter, could carefully place a fragment from one into another. He smiles at the memory. While our fellows wasted their efforts on phenomena like blights, we delved right into the heart of the matter. There were certain gaps in our knowledge, of course. I was perhaps enthusiastic in my pursuits. I thought that if anyone should attempt a more personal approach to the tests, it should be me. And no amount of certainty will make the imbibing of a poison a pleasant experience. Death is the ultimate test, you see. If the soul has flown, then you know you've failed. He chuckles. Your work sounds similar to animancy. Like what? The man shrugs. Perhaps others follow in our steps. I have not had the opportunity to keep up with the state of magical study. How have you stayed alive all this time? The big question. Binding a soul to its body was not, it turned out, very difficult. We were certain we'd found a kind of immortality. The body could be destroyed beyond repair, but anything less is quite survivable. I was eager to attempt it. My leg, at the time, pained me terribly. Old war wound, and I had heard one subject describe a sense of distance from the pain inflicted upon them. They felt it, but it didn't matter to them. Which would be a vast improvement. I remember the first moment, the relief, he sighs. But we found that after some time the body would remember that it was, after all, dead. There's really no describing what it feels like, to see our fingers rotting away. He makes a face. The smell. We tried to revive the affected subjects with energy culled from their fellows, and it worked well enough. I was able to revive the spell work. keep myself and the others who had joined me as hale as ever. Nua wasn't terribly pleased with the distraction, but that turned out not to matter. The mob came and murdered him, and we were sealed in here with the rest of his tools. But we still had the Adra, you see, and enough souls housed in there to feed us for, well, as long as we wished. So in other words, as a vampire, he has been able to stay alive for thousands of years because of the souls that are inside of this humongous Adra statue. And so, he grins, we had a time of it, we did. We were able to preserve the furniture over the years. We had little meetings in the grand chamber. What a nice little family we were. His grin fades. Until it had to end. What happened here? Here? You mean with them? The Adra? All of it? That's a long tale, and my patience has diminished with time. I'll tell you what happened recently. It was the Adra beetles. Oh, you wouldn't think it was something so small, so mundane, but they came swarming up from the lower reaches and started to feed upon live Adra. We actually fought a few Adra beetles on this floor. Survival 5. I thought Adra beetles only feed on dead Adra. Just so. They never troubled us before. Still, it happened. We tried to fight them off, of course, but it was impossible. Kill one and 2 more behind it. Something must have driven them up here. I don't know what. They all but amputated our Adra limb. Not enough to support all of us. Not us in the rooms, the tapestries, everything. But enough for me. None of the others knew the spells required. Their only part in it was simply lie in their Adra coffins and be revived. By me. So that's what those coffins were over there. He was reviving some of his old friends, I guess, with the souls that are trapped in the Adra. So it was an obvious choice, wasn't it? No more of that, no more of anything. I swore I'd burn them all to kindling if they came near. Fortunately, you made that unnecessary. So the Adra beetles are eating on the Adra here, and in so doing are taking the souls that are keeping this guy alive, which probably means he's not long for this earth. He's probably going to start to decay. How could you do that to your companions? You're soft-hearted, considering it was you who put an end to their immortality. They weren't anyone's friends. They would have licked the brains out of your cracked skull if they could. There wasn't enough life to go around. That's all it was, and 2,000 years is more than long enough to get to know someone. Think on it this way. You've sent them on their way, and they will live again in time. Isn't that a comfort? I'm looking for the master below. Do you know who that is? None of us took such grand titles. The only master of this would be Caed Nua, our king, our poor grief-maddened king, he laughs. Would he call himself such, I wonder? Caed Nua is dead. The mob would not have retreated without having killed him, he thinks a moment. But then if we could preserve ourselves despite our death, then so perhaps could he. I am sure I considered the possibility once. When it had all come crashing down, if any man would prolong himself, it would be him. I wonder, was it he who drove the Adra beetles up here from below? His face twists with anger. Who stole our Adra source? Does he mourn his son yet, the mewling fool, that he should resent our feeding upon his statue? A possibility. He regards you with sudden calm. After all this time, it wouldn't surprise me. Can you tell me about Caed Nua? Our great lord, a wise man in his day, until his son was lost. An accident. Some small, unfortunate turn of fate. You have come but a little way, past the sealed chambers. You must know by now that Caed Nua did not take it well, he chuckles. This monument to his grief has outlasted him. But his madness provided opportunity, a promise of immortality for all of us. If it was found at the behest of a grieving father, what did it matter? He had a flock of devoted servants. For we had to find the soul in question, to bring it back from wherever it had gone to house it somewhere suitable, he indicates the statue. And such discoveries have costs, something the rabble didn't understand. So this whole thing was a way for Caed Nua to prolong his life, basically. I have no more questions. Very well. Good to stretch the vocal cords, I have to say. I'll be going then. Give my regards to the dead when you see them. The man chuckles darkly. Wondering if maybe I should kill him. But I'll do that off camera if I do choose that. So a very interesting discussion with this vampire down here who has been alive for 2,000 years, living off of this Audra statue and the souls within, which is why he hasn't started his decay yet. Doesn't mean that it's not going to happen, it just means that it hasn't happened yet, which is pretty impressive. I wonder if he's been sitting in this chair the entire time. It seemed too that he was um, reviving his friends that were in the Audra coffins that we saw a little earlier. So I wonder if possibly he started to do that a while ago, but then when the Audra beetles started eating all of the Audra, he decided that it wasn't such a good idea to revive them anymore because they were stealing the souls that were keeping him alive. A very interesting conversation. One thing more here, back here, when I examine it, says thick rust-red veins of dead Audra worm their way through the statue's wrist and into the darkness beyond. So I guess dead Audra turns a rust-colored red when it starts to die. I did eventually decide to kill the vampire down here. Oh, it looks like we have a skeleton again. I wonder if they're going to appear in every map like last time. But yeah, I decided to kill the vampire down here. It was not a easy fight, but we were able to finally do it. As you can see, Durance, Aloth, and Sagani all fell during the fight, but we still succeeded in the end. And in here, we got a unique item called Arguis Adra, which is unique heavy armor. When Grave Admeth Hadrit passed the 10 Years Treaties and the anniversary of the War of Black Trees, he outlawed the looting of Engwithan ruins. While this was a popular move among the Glenfathans, as well as the frontier villages, who frequently found themselves the subject of the tribe's vengeance, it was an unwelcome change for the traders and adventurers who had made their living selling Engwithan artifacts. Quite a few vendors, however, took to commissioning and selling replicas. Many fakes were so skillfully made that even scholars had difficulty distinguishing between them, and ciphers were sometimes hired to attest to the authenticity of high-value objects. Arguis Adra, which means Adra armor, actually was taken from ruins near the Court of Bowing Ashes, but it so closely resembled two known fakes that it famously passed through Defiance Bay, Anchense, and Salona before an Animancer in Barda recognized its authenticity. So, how did it get down here? A little bit of good history there about how the Glenfathans were happy that it was illegal to plunder the Engwithan ruins, but I do wonder how he got it. Were the people, was that expedition force that was sent down here, was somebody there wearing this armor and this vampire here took it? That could possibly be it. Either way, I like to grab it. It's only 8th level here. We found a new fast travel exit. So yeah, let's take a look here. Here's the outstretched hand above on the top floor. See the Zorat pit. See the head down here. Looks like this is like some kind of the excavation tunnels down here. That's interesting. I don't think we're able to explore those. That's level 5 up there, and here we are down at level 8. This hand here is where we just fought the vampire. I wonder if this is a depiction of the machines that were making the blights that we encountered on the 7th floor, I believe. Okay. So here is the entirety of level 8 mapped out. We'll see over here, this is the room with the Audra coffins where the vampire was reviving his friends, I guess, although he killed them. Here is the defunct machine that is similar to the ones up top that have been causing the Hollowborn crisis. Right here is the master staircase that leads out of it. That's where we have access to the map, the fast travel. Here is the hand that is carved and it has some dead Audra on it, and also where we fought the vampire. And here is the exit. Got a cutscene on my way out. Leaden Key Assassin. Hold there. A roadman stands in the doorway, his gaze moving between you and Conarua. Oh, not this again. Oh, I was worried about the assassins that were coming after him way back when, and here they are now. Now, of all times, Kana gnashes his teeth together, his face darkening with fury. Leaden Key assassin, another robed figure, a woman, looks at you. So this is the Watcher. You made this very convenient, running to ground in the same place. Allah's eyes burn, and he reaches for his wand. Careful. Leaden Key assassin, our hunting parties have joined, and we have the advantage of numbers. Make this easy on yourself and surrender. We'll end it quickly. How did you get in here? We seek the company of shadows that our labors may remain secret. The man smiles again. Kill them all. Okay.
Brave.
Kana looks over the bodies, shaking his head. What a waste. He turns to you. I don't see why they bothered. What harm can a broken tablet do? Or any artifact? They aren't even Glanfathans. I don't think they were here for the tablet. Kana nods. I think you're right. They never asked us for what we found. It seems to be the ruins themselves they take issues with us exploring. Enough to hound me across Ed Erickson Middle and the Deerwood. That just means you are on the right path. But that's the thing. There was no book of virtues, no message of peace, no answers. I had it wrong, he frowns. So if we are, as you say, on the right path, what's at the end of it? It seems like if either of us are going to find any answers, they aren't going to be in there. He jerks his thumb back toward the Sayers. The Leaden Key knows something we don't, and they mean to keep it that way. Your enemies are mine. I owe you much for what you've done for me. Perhaps there will be answers for both of us at the end of your journey. Glad to hear it. Let's go. Wonder if it's common for the Leaden Key to use Svef. Okay. Pausing the recording again.
Things. I worried you would not return. Is it true that there are riots in Defiance Bay, and that Avar Wolfgren has been slain?
I wish this was part of the main recording. I didn't realize that the steward would have such a reaction to what's going on in Defiance Bay right now. Maybe I'll try to edit that in at some point. Yes, and I'll make Theos pay for what he's done. I am sure you will, my lord. And much does he deserve it. May the gods harry his every step. I am glad, above all, that you were unharmed. I can only hope that Defiance Bay recovers. Word of Caed Nua is spreading far and wide. I expect we'll be receiving visitors from every corner of the world soon. I can't tell you how wonderful it is seeing this place restored to its original grandeur. Thank you, my lord. This keep only reflects what you have done for us. A monument, if you will. I've kept you too long, haven't I? I'll give you my report. Yes, we're completed. Okay. Here I just wanted to point out, back in the grounds of Caed Nua, we've seen these Adra pillars before, but now that we have been down in the Endless Paths, I think we can recognize it as the fingertips of the hand of the giant statue that's down there. We have the 4 fingers over here and the thumb over here. So now that we've been down there, I think it's clearer what this actually is, what these Adra pillars are connected to. We'll take a look at the map too, so we can see the whole thing. You'll see right here. They're grasping the chapel almost. On the 9th level, which seems to have a lot of kind of torture devices down here, and I fought some specters and everything, there is a skeleton on the wall over here with a unique spear called Danula. Spears like this one have been found scattered around the Eastern Reach, typically unearthed in excavations or heavy rains. They're thought to have been the weapon of choice of a fallen military state, though their origins have not been traced to any particular culture of the period. So possibly in Gwithin, since it's down here, although it seems like I don't know how much thought was put into the actual weapons that you find in particular places. They tend to fetch favorable prices on the black market for their unusual combination of traits, light yet durable, with tips that show no signs of having dulled over their long years. They're prized among soldiers for the quickness they lend to one's strikes. The 2 sockets carved along its length make this particular spear unique and suggest there was once more to this weapon. In the 9th level, there was a secret button on the wall here that opened this door here, and I got a broken blade. This is the lower half of a broken blade. The metal is of fine quality, and it is unclear what caused it to break neatly at the midpoint. So now I found both halves of the broken blade, and I found the hilt, but it seems like there's still more to find. So here is level 9 all mapped out. Exits right here. Came in this way. Traveled around here. This was the room with all the spikes on it. We found a unique spear in there. This is a room with a bunch of Iron Maidens in it. And then some looks like torture dungeon areas here. This is where I found the sword. Over here was a massive crystals that are on the wall here, and there were some crystal spiders that were down here as well as some Vithrak that we had to fight. None of them spoke to us like the other Vithrak in Learemen, I think it was called, the ruins. So yeah, this seems like it could have been some kind of area where Vithrak tortured some prisoners or something like that. That's what it seemed like to me anyway. Just wanted to unpause it here. I feel like I may have pointed this out at some point, but whenever there is a Cheguila in the level, we can hear this screaming. I'm gonna silent for a little while to see if we can hear it again. Creepy and cool. When we went through the door, it got louder. In level 10, after fighting an enormous group of spiders, I found wrapped up in a web, it seemed like a person was wrapped up in there, I found this unique arbalest. Adrian's Wrecker. Adrian's Wrecker was known to many, even when Adrian herself was known to few. A rogue and expert markswoman, she fought in the War of Defiance and felled Adirian soldiers from the shadows. She once told a pupil that she'd rather shoot an enemy in the back than give him the opportunity to strike back. Her patience was even more famous than her aim. She was reputed to have hidden in a tree for 3 days straight while she waited for an Adirian general to pass along the road to Madsdam. Her skill was such that none were able to confirm the tale. Once again, I'm wondering what this is even doing down here. If this was during the War of Defiance, did she come down here? Did someone take it from her and come down here? We're in level 10 now, which is further than the expedition made it, so yeah, not really sure. Right next to that crossbow, we found an Adra key. There is a locked door. You can kind of see it over here. But I'm guessing that's what it unlocks. It says it requires the proper key. But we can see the green glistening. The sworn Adra key still has traces of spider silk clinging to it. Okay, so we opened the door with that Adra key, and we got into this room here. This was a small level. And I said that there was a Chinguilla in the level because we could hear it laughing and screaming, but there was actually 3 Chinguillas in here. One of them probably had this rod of pale shades on them. At the beginning of Widewind's legacy, a cleric of Bareth in New Haemar petitioned his god to end the Hollowborn curse. I'm sorry, this is a unique rod. He knelt on the stone floor of his temple and prayed for 5 days straight, forsaking food, water, and sleep for the sake of his vigil. On the evening of the 5th day, he fell into an exhausted slumber and dreamt that the pallid night told him to restore the cycle by returning the souls of the living to it. When he awoke, he found a large but plain candlestick from the temple altar lying next to his hand. He fashioned the candlestick into a weapon, and he prowled the city, murdering the elderly and infirm in Bareth's name. As the death toll climbed into the dozens, a mob of vengeful and bereaved formed to track him down. They caught up with the cleric outside of his temple and turned his own weapon on him, bashing his skull apart into the streets. Several onlookers claimed to see an elderly dwarf, cloaked and impossibly emaciated, standing in the shadows and laughing. This is an interesting story. Again, not really sure how this got down here. If this was the beginning of Weidman's legacy, it wasn't that long ago. So this cleric, it doesn't say what species the cleric is, whether it's folk or whatever. And as he was praying, he saw the pallid knight that was asking him to restore souls to the wheel. And then he fashioned a weapon to do it, and there was this elderly dwarf, impossibly emaciated. I wonder who that dwarf is supposed to represent. It seems like whoever it was is the person that made this guy start killing people, and the dwarf thought it was kind of funny. Get that to endurance. So yeah, like I said, level 10 was a very small level. This is where we came in. We got attacked by some shades who just kind of appeared there after we moved into the room a little bit. This is the room here with the 3 chinguillas in it. And over here was, I don't know, probably 20-something spiders. And there's a bunch of webs. This is where we found the key and the web over here. And here's the staircase down. And that's it of this level. Once again, we can hear the enemies before we fight them. I believe these noises that we're hearing are enemies that dank spores make. Also, we get a new fast travel exit. We are now in level 11. That's where we are. This is the hand where we fought the vampire. You see all the crystals in the previous level, or the spiders in the previous level. And then level 11 is this level here. We can see the leg of the Audra statue at this point. In level 11, we found this mass of vines here that triggers a scripted encounter. A winding mass of vicious thorns and thick vines spans the gap between the cavern walls. There are spaces here and there in the vegetation, and you can see into the chamber beyond, but it will be difficult to pass through unscathed. Look at the vines. The vines have grown so thick and tangled as to form a nearly impenetrable wall. Many of the thorns are as long as the span of your palm. From time to time you hear the faintest creak as if something has shifted slightly within the mass. Cut away the vegetation with a weapon. You deal a sturdy blow to the nearest vine and get little result. These vines seem unnaturally resistant. No amount of hacking, smashing, or cutting seems to have much effect. It would take far too long to cut away all of them. Cross the wall. The moment you start to step through, the entire wall gives a great heave, coming alive in a surging mass of branches and vines. Thick, thorny branches swing towards you with a vindictive force. Despite your best efforts to avoid them, Durance gets hit hard in the head by one of the vines. The plants seem to react to their victory, thrashing all the more vigorously. Scythe-like barbs tear and scrape at you as you pass, surrounding you in a hailstorm of scratching, thrashing plants. With one final great effort, you scrabble clear of the vines, stumbling out into the space beyond the wall and out of reach. So we're on the other side of the vines now. Wow.
Nice and quiet.
And it looks like this is where we have to go to get to the next level as well. After I went through the vines, I fought a pretty difficult fight with a giant dank spore, some pugras, forest lurkers, a bunch of giant spores actually, or just dank spores. There was one giant dank spore. I found this, Verina's Leaves, which is a unique rapier. A Raed Saren fairy tale tells of a blacksmith who was traveling through the woods on his way home from a distant village. The wheel of his wagon broke, and he had to make camp and repair it. During the night, a pack of hunting Stelgars ventured into his encampment, and he hid among the trees. Just as one of the beasts picked up his scent, a Delemgan stepped out of the copse and in front of the blacksmith. The Stelgar soon lost interest, and when the blacksmith had recovered from his terror, he thanked the Delemgan, Verina, and begged to know how he could express his gratitude. Thrice she bade him forget about her and continue on his way, but seeing the man's zeal, she finally relented. "Enemies encroach on my wood," she said. "Bring me a means of defending it." The blacksmith swore that he'd return with a worthy gift, and so departed. Weeks later he forged a dagger, and sought her in the forest. She saw the gift and smiled sadly. "A noble intent. Yet I fear it would do little to clear the foes that spring up in my midst. Please, return home, and know that you have my thanks for your efforts." But the blacksmith shook his head, and over her protest promised to bring her a suitable gift. After months behind the forge, he crafted several fine battle axes, and he brought the best of these to Verina. Even her graciousness did not conceal the horror on her face. "Surely my enemies would seize this and turn it against me in my forest. Please go to your village and forget about this." But, deaf to her objections, he vowed to try again, probably because they're axes which are used to cut down trees. So the blacksmith devoted a year to crafting the finest, sharpest spearheads he had seen. People came from near and far to purchase the very weapons he had crafted, finished, and deemed worthy of Verina. And as his reputation grew, so did the village around him. After a year of labor, he returned to the forest with the finest spear he had ever seen. The wilds seemed to have dwindled, and finding her was no easy task. When he eventually did, he presented the spear. "A weapon worthy of you," he said. "A weapon worthy of you," he said, "long enough that none may snatch it from your grasp." But she recoiled from the wooden pole. "I cannot defend myself with the bones of my own felled trees. I beg you, go and do not return." Yet he made an oath to bring her a final gift to fit her purposes. After years of work, he crafted the finest rapier in the land, its blade as narrow and fine as a needled leaf. In that time, the sale of his lesser attempts had made him a wealthy man, and his village had grown to a small city. When he returned to the forest a final time, he hardly recognized it. The sprawling woodlands had been whittled to a few scrubby thickets, and Verina was nowhere to be found. He returned once again to his forge and spent the rest of his days making rapiers to wreak vengeance upon Verina's unknown tormentors. His tormentors were obviously him here. In his fame, because a city grew up around him, people were destroying the woods. He was destroying the woods to make some of his weapons. So the only thing he could think of was to make a weapon, when in fact that was the thing that was hurting her all along. Nice story there, and a long story, a surprising story. That is Verina's Leaves, a unique rapier. I did not have level 11 fully mapped out. There was an entire area over here. Just wanted to point out that we have some disease pudding over here. Sounds delicious for dessert. Okay, so I really do now have level 11 fully mapped out. I didn't have this area before. It's still a pretty small area. This is the master staircase to the outdoors, where we examined the entire the map of the endless path so far. This is the stairs upstairs. This is the stairs downstairs. And in here we just got into a hell of a fight, actually. Not because the enemies were particularly difficult, but because there were 3 of the big swamp spores who kept dominating all of my characters. So I'm sure there was a way to stop that from happening so much by increasing my defenses somehow, but I didn't do that. So it just took a long time, and as you can see, a lot of things happened to my characters. But the real reason I unpaused it is because we have this wand, unique wand here. Jadab's Hazel. Jadab was a wizard and wand maker. Though brilliant, he had trouble selling his work due to a number of eccentricities, not the least of which was a vow that he would never make two wands of the same color. The hazel wand was one of his most powerful creations. Unfortunately, like everything he made, it was the only one of its kind. So it's an exceptional wand, grants jolting touch. Okay, I'll see you down in level 12. Level 12 seems to be some kind of Vithrak den. And when we are approached by one, it says, a group of robed figures blocks passage. Their heads bear a fearsome resemblance to those of the spiders that infest these caverns, their mandibles clacking in small, constant movements. In the dim light of the caverns, their round black eyes gleam like gems. They look up as you approach. You feel a peculiar itchy sensation in your head, as if someone were running thin fingers through your thoughts. A muted sense of distress fills your mind, followed by a far louder screech of alarm from one of the robed creatures. As one, the creatures turn towards you and attack.
Brave
What? Mowing.
Settle!
Okay, I'll let you know if anything else interesting happens with these Vithraks. Okay, we got to a room, again, filled with Vithraks. There is a named one, though, that looks different. If you can see here, the Vithrak usually dressed in blue with brown appendages and head. This one dressed in black with white appendages and head, and it's named a Charik. You feel a scratching sensation in your head, followed by a sudden high-pitched ringing. Several images flash within your mind's eye. You see a mass of nests set against the cavern wall, stretching up into the darkness. A vast network of webs, somewhere far beneath the surface. You see, too, the sentries you have recently slain, their bodies lying crumpled in the cavern floor. When the images fade, you see another of the spider-faced creatures standing before you. It raises its clawed hands. You feel another twinge inside your skull, and then words emerge within your mind in a voice wholly alien to your thoughts. Orek duvathi narat vreknat. The creature pauses, its fangs twitching. Kaladina fosta agrandidar. Do you know any Adiran? The creature makes a strange, chittering noise. In your head you hear, Edir tongue. Many turns of the wheel since last given thought. Animal is trespassing. Nests are here. Risk much in defending. Protectors are dead. Animal is sated. Animals listen now. The creature makes a clacking sound. Not fighting. I'll listen. There's no need for more fighting. Yes, animal is not needing to fight. The creature spreads its arms. Vithrak, greet you. Welcome to Nest. Animal is keeping peace. Tell me about the Vithrak. The Vithrak looks at you for a moment, then down at itself. Back. What is elf animal? Vithrak people see what others do not. See light inside dull shell. It points at you. See great and burning light. Vithrak speak without voices, and in many. Hundreds of souls in great city. Straek Narith is colony, a great journey. Animal would walk a long time to reach it. What are you doing here? Vithrak, searching, seeking knowledge for home, for colony. Stravek Narith, far away, long time have we searched. We grew with memory of home, made nests, made new home. and found what we seek. Master of this place, the Vithrak gestures at the walls around you, grew Adra, not cutting, breaking, growing, shaping. If Vithrak could find secret. So are the Vithrak down here also trying to find the secrets of Adra? Making great works, statue, machines. Vithrak could weave silk at Adra both. Our nest becomes stronger, colony becomes stronger. All of us weaving great works. You feel a sudden melancholy from the Vithrak. We are close, finding machines, crystals, but finding Adra men too in place below. I've lost many. Too many. So it seems like they're trying to figure out the secrets of the Adra to try and create their own colony down here, because their home colony, this place called Caed Nua, is way too far away for them to travel. It regards you with sudden interest. Elf animal is strong, defeated other animals, killed guards. Could help Vithrak. What exactly are you looking for? Things for study, things of Adra, all in the ruins below. Must see how Caed Nua makes Adra men. Adra shells, yes? Animal does not need to kill Adra men, just needs shell. Also needing part from machine. Part like heart of the machine. Adra and shining metal. The Vithrak thinks a moment. Last piece is Adra. Not the Adra from walls, is different, pure, hard to find. Charek is hoping there is some below. If Elf Animal brings these things, Vithrak owe Animal great debt. Will help colony, help us, can go home after so long waiting. For this great thing, Charek would reward Animal. Oh, so they're not trying to make their own home down here. They're trying instead to return to their home. I'll go see what I can find. The Vithrak makes a peculiar clucking sound, and in your mind you feel a hazy gratitude. Then Charek is grateful. Way to ruins lies east. Scouts have carved through stone, found stairs, found more than stairs. They guard us now from what is beneath. Animal must explain task, and Kesterak lets pass in peace. Charek pauses. Kesterak is not kind. Animal is taking care. Animal is us. A small spider huddles in the back of this nest, hisses. Eyes glittering. 8 glittering eyes look out at you. Ooh. These like the Vithrak beds or something like that. These large nests appear to be woven from a thick, sturdy silk. Okay, I think that's going to be it for this part right here. I'll unpause it again if something else interesting happens.
Hello? Hello?
I started talking with this person. I thought the recording was unpaused, but it is not unpaused. So I just unpaused it here. I'm just going over what this Krivi Vithrak said. The original colony of Vithrak was right over to the left here, and then Krivi was over here on his own. So he's talking about how much he likes the crystal on here, and then he says this. Is studying Esk Erevar, Adra, so that's their word for Adra, how growing, shaping, using, and Starek Narith, Adra not growing, Krivi will learn secrets. So what they're trying to do here is figure out why in their home the Adra is dead, and they are studying the living Adra here to try and figure out how to, I don't know, bring their Adra back to life. Ready to seek, I'm sorry, I didn't read this part yet. Krivi is also hunting supplies. A Seat is helping, is searching the caves in south. The Vithrak points. It is taking her time, it adds with a hint of reproach. Is going alone, too. Krivi is not liking. Where did Isit go? Isit is going south to search cave there. Took spiders to guard. It pauses. Krivi worries a little but cannot stop to search. Is helping colony. I had other questions. Who's Krivi? The Vithrak makes a low whistling sound. Is Krivi, it says brightly. Do you know anything about the master below? Krivi knows many things, but not any master. is asking Charek? It points a claw towards its leader, and then folds its hands primly. Farewell. Ver, fair, yes. Yes, farewell, Edir tongue. Okay. Okay, still in level 12, and I killed a mad Vithrock, which I'm wondering if that was Isit, which, forget his name, Krivy, was talking about up there, but I found a polished pommel stone. I'm going to guess this is the final piece of the sword. This pommel gem is perfectly smooth, gleaming sphere of dark gold-flecked stone. Reflections dance strangely on the dark surface, and in certain lights, the gem gleams a deep red. Yep. Forge the blade. I have discovered all the broken fragments of the ancient sword. I will need to find a skilled smith to reforge this weapon for me before I can wield it. Still on level 12 to the east, we ran into another group of Vithrock. This one is Castoric. You feel a sharp and sudden pain in your head, immediately followed by a harsh and alien voice. Ajik, Kalathua ar ne elf, Edirvasti. The creature makes a peculiar clacking sound before its voice speaks in your mind once more. I name it trespasser, killer, lingerer in the bright places. Where is it going? Sure, I'll use my perception to say you speak a little better than your leader. It insults us. I will tear the memory of this place from It speaks to our leader. It visits the nest. You feel an echo of the Vithrock's alarm in your head. To what purpose? Your leader asked us to collect some Adra samples to help the colony. Charek asks this? The Vithrock hisses quietly. Of this? You feel a muted wave of thwarted anger. Go then. The Adramen will crush it like a squirming hare, and the Charek will send us once more. So this guy, I think, is supposed to be the one that's getting the Adra, and we have taken his job from him. Here is the completed map for level 12. See a bunch of cocoons and spiderwebs because of the Vithrock sloping down here. This is where the Vithrock nest was. This is where Krivy was over here. And right here is the exit. Right here is the second group of Vithrock who were jealous that we were the ones that were asked to go down and get some Adra below. Before I went down to the 13th level, I went back to Krivy because I thought that mad Vithrock was Isit. And I'm going to tell him, I think I may have run into a seat. She attacked me without warning, and I was forced to defend myself. Krivy sees. For a moment, you feel a peculiar scratching sensation within your head, and then it is gone. Krivy is sorry for Isit's actions. It is very strange, Isit acting so. Many strange things in this place. Krivy is collecting many things while studying Adra. Not all stones alike, yes? Having pretty stones. Take, please. Krivy thinks Edir tongue. Is good to know. I got Balloon and Andratara. Okay, that's it for level 12. I will see you in level 13. So as soon as I went to level 13, I got the Master's Tools quest updated. It says, I've reached the ruins below the caves and can begin my search. The Vithrock have asked me to acquire 3 items. A refined Adra crystal, the armor of one of the Adra-laced Onomats that roam the area, and a piece from one of the ancient Ingwithan machines. This will hopefully provide the Vithrock with enough material to base their own experiments on. After I fought some Onomats in this first 13th level here, these spirits showed up. This looks to be people that are searching for something down here. Looks like I can talk to this one. Spirit, come, help me here. The spirit holds his hands just above the shattered machine, poised as if to pull on some unseen component. Brace there, and we will be rid of this one. Each word seems to resolve itself in your mind an instant after it's spoken as you recall the Ingwithan tongue. So these are Ingwithans down here. He waits a moment, evidently for someone to take a position. Pull hard, now. There. He sags back, wiping his brow. These machines. To think how many souls have felt their touch. And how many of those willing, I wonder. You're breaking the machines? It would go faster if we knew what enchantments were upon them. They might as easily be activated as destroyed. He grins a little. Don't worry, I knew what I was doing. Come. They've already started sealing the upper floors. We'll be the last out at this rate. So in other words, when the Ingwithans went exploring down here, they found something below that made them want to turn back, close everything off, and run back up. Doiros means to work some spell upon that door. Use Caed Nua's servants against him. Door? There must be 100 souls affixed to that stone. A punishment, no doubt. Perhaps they'll be pleased, knowing that Caed Nua goes wailing into the afterlife. What kind of spell? He cannot unmake the door entirely, but he can change its purpose. The oath, you see. If Caed Nua's servants are pledged to his defense, then we shall pledge ourselves to his destruction. So they resented Caed Nua. The man gives you a fierce grin, turning away. From one step to another he has faded, only to appear once more beside the machine. So they're closing everything off here because it seems like they're trying to leave Caed Nua behind, leave him down here because of something he did. In this otherwise empty room, there's a spirit here. This hazy figure is tall and heavily built, and its shifting, indistinct face is turned toward the floor, as if it were deep in thought. You hear a faint murmuring and the rolling cadence of prayer. From time to time, the spirit seems to sway in place. As you approach, the spirit raises his voice, and you recognize the familiar sounds of the Ingwithan tongue. And no more shall souls splinter upon the wheel. Hear me, great father. I am pledged against your foes, and the greatest of these is death. The spirit turns its face towards you in a swift motion. For a moment its features blur, and then resolve into what appears to be a man's visage, its eyes fixed upon you. You are late. Late for what? The spirit turns his face away. They will be here soon, to cast us down, to unmake our work. It is nearly too late. Our work? He nods. If they knew, perhaps they would understand. If they heard the sisters speak, in foreign lands they leave their madmen to suffer alone, or else cast these same out from their sight. Meanwhile, we have carved ourselves like smooth stones, polished the virtues within us, while flensing away the weakness. Is that not just? Is that not kinder than anything that came before? He shifts, standing straighter. Are you ready? He raises his hand, and you think you see the glint of metal, though a second glance reveals nothing. They have placed your crest upon the Animat, alongside my own. The Animats, you're going to sacrifice yourself? He shakes his head. Those of faith remain, and we are children of the wheel. Death is not for us. In other words, rather than dying, they put their souls into these Animats. The spirit's gaze slides away from you as you depart. Even as you move away, he reaches out an arm for someone else, smiling. So I think now might be a good time to mention that not only are there Animats down here, but there are Chinguilas as well.
We gotta take better care of Ella.
So glad you got to see that.
Laying low.
So yeah, you can hear the Chinguilas laughing and screaming in the background. Let's examine this before I pause the recording again. Yeah, this is one of the things I think that the Vithrak wanted. This sizable crystal of refined Adra has been polished to a gleaming shine. Yep, that was one of them. There's a door on level 13. A large ornate Ingwithan door stands before you. To either side rests large crystals glowing with a faint light. You feel a peculiar change in the air, as if some presence were nearby, yet there is nobody to be seen. You hear a whisper, emerging as from thin air, from the general direction of the door. It grows in both volume and number, many voices speaking quietly. In moments it has become a chaotic hiss of voices, each vying to be heard. But as you listen, the voices begin to settle into a cadence and then into words, a phrase spoken by many at once. This is the door. This must be the door that the spirit was talking about before. Sounds like they put their spirits into, or their souls into the door. Beneath stone and weight of years rests one who would slay death. Who comes to wake him? Examine the door. Worn smooth by the passage of time, the door bears no obvious means of opening it beyond whatever enchantment lends it voice. There is no place for a key, nor any handle. It seems you'll have to try something else. I'm just going to leave now. I'm trying to hopefully find one of the master staircases out of here, because I got into a fight over here with a bunch of Tenguillas and I went down really quick. So I'm also not able to disarm a lot of the traps, so I think I want to return here when I'm a little bit higher level.
Silent.
So there's a fight in this room again, Tenguillas and Adra Animats. And these spirits showed up afterwards, and it looks like I can speak to this one right here. The spirit stands stiffly at attention, her gaze focused on the end of a hallway. One arm bears up a heavy round shield, though the rippling blur of the soul energy obscures what lies beyond it. Speak in Gwithin. Hello? Her head turns a little. They've passed the Blight Forges. If the Overseers live, we may stop them yet in the chambers beneath, she snorts. If Kabiros and his pack of scheming wizards haven't betrayed us. So, Ingwithins ran into a lot of conflict down here. I wonder if Kabiros is another Ingwithin who came down with them and betrayed them. The mob may be on us soon. Better to make peace with whatever god you have. She pauses, looking at you. Are you afraid? Afraid of what? Indeed. What's to fear at all? She looks away from you. Our own people turn against us. What remains if we are victorious? Who will feed the machines then? I do not fear the battle. I fear what will become of our Lord once we are victorious. What further madness the children of the wheel will pour into his ears. Perhaps he would stop once his son is returned to him. But will they let him? Children of the wheel? While Nua contents himself with his titan. That titan, I'm guessing, is the big statue that we see coming down the endless paths. They dig after the very heart of heaven. She gives a sour laugh. Madness, all of it. And yet Adnua holds them close at his side. None of this would have happened if not for them. They have driven our great lord from grief and into madness, pushed him into these deeds. She pauses. He was a great king. Perhaps he will be again. Come, we'll rally the defenses at the steps, funnel them into our blades. With the Animats beside us, they won't stand it. The spirit gasps wordlessly, mouth agape. She gropes for something at her back, unseen, and takes a listing step sideways, away from you, her eyes wide, gaze into yours. You... Traitor, probably. Her leg buckles, and as she falls, the misty lights which form her shape thin and scatter. So her people were betrayed. Wonder if by that Kabiros? I think that was his name.
Slow and silent.
Further in level 13, still haven't found a master staircase, wondering if it's actually here. But we found an Adra shell. I'm guessing this is one of the things that the Vithrak wanted. A polished curved section of Adra taken from remains of an Animat. Copper strands are coiled within the center of the Adra and extend to the surface of the stone at several points, winding through the armor. Yep, that was the other one. So I think we need one more. We found the refined Adra crystal. And the armor. Alright, further south I found a broken machine with an Ingwithin machine part in it. The exact purpose of this bizarre mechanism is unknown, though it was found within one of the broken machines within the lower reaches of an Ingwithin ruin. It seems largely comprised of Adra and contains several loops of copper. I believe this is the third part that we need to find for the Vithrak above. Yep. So I, rather than retreating, decided to try and this fight with, there was like 4 Chinguilas in this room. I think it was 4, maybe there was 5, and a Spectre. And when I came in here, I realized that they were paralyzing me right off the bat, which is how they were able to destroy me so quickly. So I found a spell of Durance's, prayer against imprisonment, that grants all the allies in the area of effect immunity to paralyzed and petrified. So I was able to defeat the Chinguilas, and I wanted to unpause it here, not just to brag, kind of, but not just to. But it seems like there's some kind of like forum that takes place here. There was a bunch of seats around this dais in the center here. I don't know if possibly this some kind of like magically provided some kind of, what's the word, not hallucination, like a hologram or something like that, where they could talk with people in some kind of like science fiction movie or something. But it seems like some kind of meeting place, at least in here. And also there is a spirit that popped up when I defeated everybody in here, so I wanted to talk to this spirit. A hazy form stands before you. From time to time, the blurring features resolve into what you take to be an elven man. I can't do this anymore. How am I going to explain? How can we possibly give him what he wants? The spirit speaks in quick, hushed bursts of Ingwithan, and shakes his head as if to answer his own questions. He's going to kill me. He's killed so many. Why should he stop here? I was talking about Caed Nua here. Who are you? He has brought so many people down here. I hear such terrible things from the upper floors. Even here, these constructs. I cannot sleep. His voice lowers. I think sometimes that I will wake and find myself inside one of the Animats. Will I even know? Will it not be like waking one day to find myself blind and mute? What does he want? The figure paces a few steps, raising his hands to his temples. What we cannot give him. Even after all this time, there is so much we do not know. He wants his son, the boy he knew, whole and preserved, returned to him. Ah, so Caed Nua seems to have done all this as a way to revive his son. But people, souls, they don't always remember. Who's to say his son will remember being his son at all, remember his father's face? I have seen mothers forget their children. What are you doing here? I'm hiding. I passed one of the machines and suddenly I couldn't breathe. I was thinking about the work we've done, the things we've seen, how even small deeds can scar the soul. Is mine so ragged? Will Caed Nua's son be grateful when we have torn him from his rest? How could you do all this? I didn't think it would go so far. I didn't know. Caed Nua is our liege lord. How can I refuse him? He looks up, startled, looking past you. No, I'm not saying anything like that. I'm only frightened, Aya. I'm sorry. Don't tell anyone, please. The spirit is talking with somebody else in their mind. Aya. Are you still loyal to Caed Nua? Of course, I am a devoted servant. His voice goes high with terror. I didn't mean, please. I never meant I would ever renounce my oaths. Do you know the way past the speaking door? I know the oath, of course. We speak it every day. I am servant to Caed Nua. My sword arm is pledged against his enemies. My soul is sworn to his purpose. The spirit seems to curl in on himself. Sworn. And that's it. So now we can probably get past the door in the center.
Not a sound.
I'm at the door again. Going to try and speak the words this time. I am servant to Caed Nua. My sword arm is pledged against his enemies. My soul is sworn to his purpose. You feel a peculiar chill in the air, and the voices grow sharp and terse. Here pass no traitors. You are struck by a sudden lashing arc of energy from the door. It is a sharp, piercing pain, but after a few moments, only the memory of it lingers. The voices quiet and fade, leaving you alone. Still not open? I thought that was the words. I am enemy to Caed Nua. My sword arm is pledged against his followers. My soul is sworn to this purpose. The voice seems to draw in breath. You hear the rumble of stone. And the door slides open, the crystals to either side of it dim, and with the light go the voices, fading first into murmuring whispers and then silence. The path is clear. Interesting. Arcana says, we have done it. We shall be the first to step beyond these doors in an age. Huh. I wonder why... Just going through, trying to find my conversation with the spirit down here. Yeah, the words were, I'm servant to Caed Nua. But I wonder if they knew he was a traitor? Huh. That's interesting. So it changed from enemy to changed from servant to enemy.
I shall be discreet.
So, in this room behind the door is the Guardian of Caed Nua, a vessel. Looks like a large onomat glowing orange rather than blue and purple like the other ones are. We also have an Odragon and an Adra onomat. Let's see how this goes.
Watch. Who was that?
Can't get a good shot with this.
That's it! Forever!
I fear we've lost the angry one. This thing isn't doing the job.
Alright, I'm gonna come back here. It's very difficult down here. I'm gonna return later. Coming upstairs, Castoric says, it lives, and it stinks of dust and old souls. Does it have the Adra Chark wants? I don't know if this guy's gonna attack us. I'm gonna lie. Not yet. I have to ask Chark about one of the objects. They can read minds, so I doubt this will work. Vithrak's scout growls ominously but stays put. It speaks Chark's name too freely. Go then, ask your questions. It lets out a rattling, unpleasant laugh. Castoric waits. Chark greets you. Elf animal, it has been below. It has what we seek. Give Chark the items. I have all the Adra samples. You feel another passing itch in your skull, and then a rippling echo of joy. Then Vithrak owe a great debt. With these we study, learn master secrets. We make statues greater than old dead master of hollow place. Straveknarith will gleam like the sea. Vithrak, thank you. Is having coin is custom, yes? Vithrak have coins of many ages. We give many. He thinks a moment. If elf animal goes still into deep places, should talk to Krivy. Krivy has supplies. Will help. Chark is giving this also. Found in tunnels and does not suit Vithrak. Keeps elf safe, yes? Will bring fortune. So I lost all the items, but I got Drawn in Spring added to my inventory. Glad to help, Chark. Vithrak, remember. Long after sun falls into sea, this is start of something. New turn of the wheel. Chark turns toward the nests lining the wall. Young will live in better place. So I completed the Master's Tools quest. I now have a shop over here. feel like Krivi's not going to be happy. Your leader said you had supplies to sell? Yes, Jarek is saying you help us. Krivi is collecting supplies. Edir tongue can see. I said Krivi's not going to be happy with us. It's whoever's on the east end is not going to be happy with us. We have some exceptional things down here. We have some sapphires, which I want. Sapphire allows me to upgrade some of my things to exceptional, which is why I wanted to buy some of those. Okay, gonna pause it. Going to see if I forget this Vithrak's name is going to be upset with us. Also, I just wanted to say it seems like Vithrak was very grateful for us giving these things. They're going to use it to return to their home, make their home better. But it seems that it was the start of something. I don't know if that was just the start of a new place for them, or if it was the start of them starting to trust some of the Kith. Schemer, liar, day is yours, tomorrow mine. Yeah. He probably would have attacked us if we told him that we had the stuff. But now he's just leaving us alone, so I'm happy with my choice. Alright, going to return when I have leveled up some. So we're still on level 13 here in the Endless Paths of Caed Nua. But I have gone back to the game, leveled up a couple times. I believe I have level 12 adventurers now. Yep. And I tried this fight again. That was giving me trouble before, and it gave me way less trouble this time. The most interesting thing about this fight was something called the Guardian of Caed Nua, which seemed like a very beefed up Onomot. So let's see now. I think it was just like a regular Onomot, but it was glowing orange, or yellow maybe. Let's see if we got anything interesting from him, or anything here. Yeah, we got the Edge of Reason, which is a unique battle axe. Edge of Reason belonged to a barbarian from the Deadfire Archipelago who loved the rush of battle. Each strike against his opponents renewed his strength, and each victory only whetted his hunger for further bloodshed. He killed his foes slowly, relishing the ebb and trickle of their life and drawing might from their terror. He grew bolder and more reckless, surrounding himself with enemies to feed upon their collective vulnerabilities. Eventually, he found himself overwhelmed by a mob of combatants, and not even his furious attacks were sufficient to sustain him. Okay. I don't think I have much to add for that one. And so here is the entirety of level 13, well, almost the entirety of level 13 laid out. This was a pretty big map here. We ran into a bunch of spirits who gave us some information. We got the materials that the Vithrak wanted on level 12. This is the room that we just had the big fight in with the Guardian of Caed Nua. And there is a room over here that we haven't been able to get into yet. This is very obviously a door, but if there's a click on this side, then I haven't been able to find it. So I'm wondering if possibly we have to go down to level 14 in order to come back up to this room here. Maybe, maybe not. We'll have to see, but I'll let you know when we get there. Down in level 14, we got another master staircase, so we can go all the way down to level 14 now. Last one we saw was level 11. Then we have the spider webs of the Vithrak lair. We have the Adra Onomot lair, and then we have level 14 down here. It looks like someone is kind of encased in, I'm going to guess that's Adra right there. That's an interesting little picture right there. But we see the calves of the giant as well, the giant Adra statue. So down here, we see a lot of armor. I'm guessing this is the armor of Onomots, and they are just completely destroyed. We haven't gotten to any fights down here yet. We don't have a lot of it mapped out. Actually, it seems like we do have a good chunk of it mapped out. And Up here, we have whoever this is entrapped in. Definitely. I'm going to guess that's definitely Audra. So let's see what happens when you click on it. The spirit of Caed Nua. The shade emerges like a wound in the world, split open to reveal a hollow darkness. Beneath a writhing crown of shadow lies a gleaming mask bearing the visage of an older man. The silver face turns toward you, features cold and silent. From within the sockets of the mask's eyes, guttering fires emit their eerie light.
Who are you? Would you abandon your king? Take up your sword! To battle! The enemy has come!
His voice seems to reverberate through the chamber. The mask's eyes burn with sudden new light, even as the room around you seems to grow darker. So just as a reminder here, Caed Nua seemed to be a very important Ingwithan leader, but his subjects eventually grew disillusioned by him because of the grasping for power that he had here. He wanted to dig down here to try and find a way to bring his son back to life. And in doing so, a lot of people died, and he kind of went insane. I am Biarter. I have come in search of the master below. For a moment, there's only...
You are no lost soul of mine. No soldier. I have no power over you.
Wonder if he's talking about the Onomats. Maybe he's been controlling the Onomats.
But neither have you found your quarry. For before you is Caed Nua, king in life of a great people. Master now of nothing.
You built the endless paths.
The endless paths. 1,000 hands toiled to create it. But it was my voice, my will, that directed them. The great work of our age.
Or it would have been, if they had only allowed me to finish. If they understood that from such rotted foundations could emerge wondrous achievement, that the same curse I sought to cure afflicted them in turn. That my son might, from one moment to the next, be lost to me is abomination. His voice thickens with grief, reverberating through the chamber. He wants only that I should be proud of him. How can a father convince his son that he might accomplish nothing and still be the light of his life? How, if he is gone? So many hours and days spent wondering. If I had been there but a moment earlier, if I had stopped him from leaving that morning, if I had only known that I would never see him again.
Lost, treading these endless paths, these regrets, with him forever moving out of reach, into some darker place, away from me. Have they loved nothing in all their lives? Lost nothing? Wives, husbands, children? Might I not show them then the agony of it?
Caed Nua's shade shudders, and the very shape of him seems to warp and twist. The tines of his dark crown grow long, and the surface of his mask ripples like molten metal. Is that your justification? That your grief outmatches everyone else's? What did they make of their grief? Nothing. Nothing of them. None of them dared. None tried. I had the vision. And the people followed me. They believed. They knew what I promised. And if some came only to test their knowledge, at least they contributed to our understanding. We came so close. You do not understand. The frustration of it has only festered in me. I cannot cease thinking on it. Some light surges behind Caed Nua's eyes, which burst into an orange flame. Every moment I have lost.
Have they loved nothing in all their lives? Lost nothing?
It's the same thing.
Wives, husbands, children? Might I not show them then get the agony of it?
I understand your grief, but why all this? It did not start so. How could it? I was mad with grief. I summoned workers, mages, servants. We plunged headlong into our quest. I could not see for tears. So is this him or his son encased here? I'm going to guess it's his son. And at first, nothing. Feeble efforts, false starts, days of nothing. And all the while I was certain I was losing time. I gave permission that we should try new methods, that we should bolster our knowledge of the soul. And with these barbarous acts, we began at last to learn, to find the edges of that veil. My people told me they could find my son, but still, we had not the means of extracting him safe, intact. And at last, when the discovery was at hand, we were betrayed. All that we had paid, the lives lost, the taint upon our souls, all for nothing. They destroyed the Titan, cleaved him from his roots. Titan would be this enormous statue.
I will never see him again. Even in death, we have been more wholly separated than if I had never known him. He will have forgotten me. Have I not paid? Have they not cost me all I had?
Even in death we have been more wholly separated than if I had never known him. He will have forgotten me. So because of what he's done down here, his son's soul will never remember him? You have wronged a great many people. Yes, I know it. How could I not? Remember that as well. I've had so many years to think on all of it. To remember. Use my intellect to say, it is not the chamber binding you. It is your rage, your grief. That is... No, I have tried to leave this place. I would go to my son. I would let nothing stop me. You are lying. The shade's eyes glow with an ominous light. The souls here, they're all trapped within a moment. They cannot free themselves. It is the same with you.
No! It is not my doing. It cannot be so simple. I will drive the invaders from the halls. I will go down those final steps, and there, finish my great work. None will stop me.
Look around you. There are no invaders. Caed Nua turns, regarding the room, and then his fiery gaze settles back upon you. Aye. A blue fire sparks behind Caed Nua's mask, casting a sickly light across the tiles. No. No. You will go from here and bring them with you. Bring the mob, again, with blade and fire. They will destroy all that I have worked for. They will steal my only hope. Caed Nua raises his arms, now lashing tendrils of shadow. Will we allow the rabble to strike us from this world? To steal my son from me a final time?
Up, soldiers, up! Conquerors of death! Children of the wheel! Andara! Riomara! Esarna! Keep them from the statue!
So he has convinced himself that we are here to destroy the statue. And I guess he's going to attack us now? Andala, Isarna, Riomara. So those are the names that he called out. I'm going to guess these are some Chenguelas here. Actually, let's do this first. Did you get that off? I don't think you did.
Get moved!
Can't get a good shot.
Don't suppose we could rest this way.
This isn't working.
Rest up. We're not getting...
Can't get a...
Mow it. I have them.
Okay. So the spirit of Caed Nua has been destroyed. Man, those Chinguilas, if they get a chance to get off their first spells, then they could make for a difficult fight.
That shade, then, was the great Caed Nua? Death, I know, can twist the soul, and yet I felt more sadness from him than anything else.
To think, he built the whole of the endless paths so that he could see his son once more. I don't know if I blame him for it. From one moment to the next, I keep changing my mind. He robbed others of their sons in turn. Was his cause more just? No, you're right, of course, Kana sighs. It's very easy in the darkness to believe your own candle burns brighter than everyone else's. But I pitied him, even so. Thank you for lending an ear. Was there anything I could do for you? Let's be on our way. Alright, let's see what we got from this battle here. The Shroud of Mourning. The rough texture and faded color of this cloak suggest that it is ancient. The symbols and runes along the edges indicate Ingwithan origins. Scholars of Ingwithan culture have translated an old story about a father driven mad with grief by the death of his son. He entered the permanent state of mourning, donning the traditional garb of the bereaved, and locking himself in his keep. The story suggests that he performed horrific experiments upon the living in an effort to resurrect his dead son. His mourning clothes were said to be infused with power as a result of these experiments. So that seems accurate with the spirit of Caed Nua.
All right, then.
Okay, so here is the entirety of level 14 mapped out. Pretty small. We have a master staircase up here, and we have the stairs up to level 13 here, and finally we have these stairs down to level 15 here. I believe level 15 is the final floor. The 15th level in one of these alcoves over here, I found Adrabon. White Adra is an extraordinarily rare precious stone, found in some formations of Adra. It sometimes appears immediately adjacent to copper conductors used in Ingwithan structures. It has a luminescent white color with pink and violet veins, vein striations running through it. Just noticing way down on the 15th floor here, there's some kind of wind that is being created that is blowing all this dust and everything towards me. Don't know what's causing it, but I just wanted to point that out. After fighting a group of Zorp down here, I found Audra Enyok. Not currency in the traditional sense, Enyoks are awarded to Glenfathans for noteworthy deeds. They are palm-sized, intricately carved discs of Audra that commemorate the deeds of the recipient. So it says not currency in the traditional sense, but it kind of is. Each one is worth 18 copper pawns. Okay, so just a little bit so far mapped out of level 15. We can see the foot of the statue here, his toes. Aloth actually made a comment, all this to find feet, I should have guessed. And then we have this area of the wall right here, so let's do this. The stairs ahead have crumbled away, leaving you at the edge of a dark pit. You have to proceed down carefully, and climbing back up may be difficult. Climb carefully down the rocks. The shifting rocks and crumbling wall make progress slow and treacherous. In the last stretch before the bottom, Bjartur steps on a loose stone and rolls the rest of the way to the bottom. You find yourself at the bottom of a wide basin, looking up at titanic boulders and Audra formations. So Bjartur has a twisted ankle.
I shall be quiet as a calm sea.
Which gives him what?
Which is
25 reflex.
not very quiet.
An Audra dragon. From under a cloak of gloomy shadow, lit only by the sickly hues of the Audra statue, emerges what can only be a dragon. Vibrant, living Audra plates its hide, and the movement of its great joints is like the grinding of boulders. The dragon stretches itself up to its full height, its horns looming like towers, and then it lowers its head, turning a sharp and intelligent gaze upon you. "Oh," says Kana.
Here you are, nearly at the heart of the world. What a journey you have made.
"You are the master below?"
Yes, the master below. You have found her. Caed Nua is mine, as is all that lies beneath it. How fortunate you are to learn such well-guarded secrets. All it has cost you is your life.
I guess meaning they're going to kill us. What is this place?
All that remains of a dead man's greatest wish. A grand memorial, or merely a sorry little tomb. More than Caed Nua's precious son are buried here, of course. Many more. It is where the Audra veins converge, before descending into the hollows of the world.
It is where the Audra veins converge before descending into the hollows of the world. So all of the Audra that is poking up above the ground converges here, and then continues down as one into the hollows of the world. That is super interesting. Which is how he was able to make this giant statue then of Audra. That is what calls you down here in the end, though it lies now beyond reach. Do you feel it now that you are so close? The pull towards transformation. So you were the one they spoke of all this time.
In a fashion. Think on it. How many hundreds of souls killed by fawning Zorips, or devoured by trolls, dashed against sealed doors, dragged screaming into dark pits by spiders, all to see what you have seen.
In other words, everything that's been happening in the upper floors have been because of this dragon's influence.
A gate into the past, the history of a fallen people, the haunted treasures of a mad king, the final monument of a distraught father, an old man weeping in the dark. And each and every man and woman that falls comes here, to this place, to me.
You have much to answer for, beast.
Don't be so grim. Were you not warned? Turn back. Beware. Turn back. Never. Not you. I have seen your Caed Nua. Have seen it rise and fall and rise again. Is it still rubble and weeds, or have you made more of it?
I was here before the Adirans raised a single stone. I am older than the steps which led you here. I am bound to this sorry memorial, and you are no more master of it than you are master of me. But you are the only one to have come so far. I cannot allow you to leave. Not now that you have seen this place. You said you were bound here? You know what power lies within the soul. Everything here, living or dead, knows it, feeds on it, thrives on it. I fed upon Caed Nua's slaves while they toiled, and then, once I had grown upon the Titan and the living veins of the world, to go from a single feeble intelligence to hearing the voices of hundreds. Perhaps that sounds familiar to you. So is this dragon a watcher? Or is it just because he can hear the statue? The statue survives, in part, as I do. We are much changed, the both of us. She raises otter-laden wings, raised above you like a second ceiling. Nothing can feed upon the souls of thousands and remain the same. You feed on the statue. With the fall of the Ingwithans, the statue has come to hold the souls of its time and of the eras since. The dragon lowers her wings. And in consuming it, I have gained what power and knowledge these fleeting lives provide. So, not a watcher, but eating the statue has caused they, to be able to see the souls and see history through their eyes. Every clumsy explorer, every mercenary and adventurer, their souls drift down, and some are caught here, and what remains of Caed Nua's Titan. Any single soul is but a trifle, of course, raindrops in the forest. Caed Nua said that the Ingwithans cut the statue off from the Adravanes. So he was not yet all mad. I have whiled away a year or more playing part in his visions, but he spoke true. The Titan is only a vessel, and in time it will be empty. The river that fed it once now lies far below, out of reach, save to the dead. What will you do when the Adra is gone? What indeed? Am I to dig my way free? Follow your tracks up and out of this place. There is a rumbling growl underlying the dragon's speech. Already the Titan is not as it once was. I have few centuries yet before the remainder has lost its power, and then I will starve. But that already helps you. Oh, but that hardly helps you here and now. I think I already said this, so you're trapped here. I came into this place as a hatchling. I was yet small and my wings light. You will note that I have grown. The dragon stamps one mighty foot upon the earth and the ground quakes. So too has the Adra weighed me down. So here we see a very literal, the first dragon we saw, the sky dragon, during Hylia's quest, it had blue scales. And here, very literally, since it's been spending its time among so much Adra, it has taken on the aspects of Adra. It may even have scales made of Adra, which is why it looks the way it looks right now. Because I'm a cipher, the dragon says to me, but I am not wholly trapped, no. The mind wanders, and like your ciphers, like you, I can cast myself beyond the limits of my bones, only my reach is far greater. All that had happened since Caed Nua's fall I have witnessed firsthand. The fall of cities, the death of languages, war, pestilence, the mundane lives of farmers and kings alike. Entire days I have lingered in the low consciousness of people 100 leagues apart. But in time, always, the body calls.
And here I return. The endless tide of treasure hunters. Caed Nua's sorrow. I have observed 100 lives upon the surface, and all are dear to me. But the flesh reigns.
There's not much Audra left. No, and in time I, like all who walk these paths, will die as well. Is there no way to free you?
Do you mean to dig me free? There may be a way, if you are willing.
So I don't think it's a good idea to free this dragon of the endless path from the endless paths, but I want to go through this for lore purposes.
I cannot send the whole of my soul afield, not at once. But if you were to take something of mine past the boundaries of this place, I could obtain a new living vessel, a body with which I might wander the world, as you do.
A vessel? So I'd have to kill someone? Weaken, not kill. But yes, someone of sufficient power that my soul will not burn the flesh to cinders. I have observed such a person in my journeys. There is a dragon hunter, Fallenred, who has girded her soul against such threats. I would be lying, elf, if I said I did not also enjoy the irony of it. She lingers at the shrine of Galawain within the scorched forest, the black meadow. Perhaps she means to rekindle that fading sense of victory. The dragon's laugh sends vibrations through your sternum. But what will you do in this new body? The dragon looks up toward the dark upper reaches of the cavern. I know not. Live out a final story. Everything which occurs to me once I am free. I'm not going to do that. No, I will not do this. No, it was a foolish hope. Let us end this here. We will keep each other company a time yet, until both our souls take that final step beyond the shroud. The dragon rears its head, nostrils flaring, and moves towards you, jaws agape. Alright, I'm sure this is going to go super well.
Praise the God.
Dragon's here, which is not good.
That's embarrassing.
Why did they dare stop attacking this person?
Just like oh, attend to the priest! This isn't going as I hoped. Messed up.
Okay, yeah, so that's, as I guess, didn't go well. Gonna have to try that again at some point. Alright, Dragon, see you later for round 2. So we are back down here in the final level of the Endless Paths, but I have completed pretty much everything else in the game except for some character stories at this point, and we are all max level with some upgraded weapons, and let's see if our battle goes a little bit better this time around. Just going to race through the dragon's dialogue since we've already done it.
Here you are, nearly at the heart. Yes. How fortunate you are to learn such well-guarded inner fashion. A gate and each and every all that remains. I have
Just actually going through it this time. I don't know if I cut myself off from some story because I just raced to the actual fight with the Alpine Dragon when I finally did beat him. So I'll actually go through
and here I
it here.
The endless tide of treasure. Do you mean I cannot send the whole of my
All right.
Brave Dalfilathi.
Oops.
Dead on.
goes. Much easier that time. Alright, so we got some stronghold things here. Got a new grand adventure. Oh, Kana wants to speak with us.
They'll call you a dragon slayer now. A slayer of Audra dragons, no less. What a trophy it will make. What a tale, for that matter. Perhaps I'll compose a song about it.
Don't exaggerate. I hardly need to. You did fight the beast, after all. The Deerwood will be going on about it for years as it is. I'm just getting ahead of the crowd. Okay. So we have Otter Dragon Scales, which we can use to upgrade to Legendary. We have Dragon Egg. +3 resolve for 300 seconds, so that's 5 minutes.
Absolutely.
The Disappointer, a unique pistol. The Disappointer was touted as a powerful, reliable weapon, but it has consistently failed every one of its unfortunate owners. This is a terrible weapon that disappoints anyone who uses it. The gun appears well made at first glance, but closer scrutiny reveals poor design and shoddy craftsmanship. Those who aren't fooled by its appearance still occasionally attempt to use it, just to see if maybe the whole thing was made to look this way as an elaborate ruse, hoping that it is an artifact of extreme power, crafted by a master who desired to conceal its remarkable nature. It wasn't. And it isn't. So it's a disappointer because it looks like maybe it's so ugly that it has to be good, but it's not good. It's just ugly and bad. Okay. So the dragon's treasure pile. Gold enough to say even a drag. Are those books? We have a unique scepter. Pritante med principi. Pritante med principi, power of princes, was recovered by a valiant adventurer pillaging Engwithan ruins. When he and his party found themselves beset by a clan of Zorops, he put his newfound weapon to work, bringing them to their knees with the scepter's powerful attacks. As they fought, his friend noticed and exclaimed, "That power has the power of princes. They kneel before you." Okay, so it's just a strong scepter. A unique crossbow. Windgare, or wind spear, was once an heirloom in a powerful house that served the first Fairconings and Mayqueens of Adir. When the Adiran Empire formed, Windgare was carried at the head of the unifying army and used to strike down the leaders of opposing forces from a great distance. One of the earliest effective crossbows, its accuracy shattered the resolve of many would-be resistors. So this Windgare has been around for a very long time. The unique light armor, Venjata Ruja. I believe I'm pronouncing these right. The Valian language seems very similar to Italian, and while I can't speak Italian well or anything, I do remember some of the rules on pronunciation, so I think I'm pronouncing a lot of these words right, but, you know, I could be wrong. This superbly crafted set of armor is dyed a dark maroon. The dye is uneven and splotchy, making it look like it was colored by an amateur. In a way, it was. Venjata Ruja, or Red Vengeance, was worn by a young Valian woman who witnessed the murder of her family at the hands of mercenaries serving a powerful duchess. When the authorities questioned her, she pretended the trauma had erased any memory of the incident. Yet when she feigned shock-induced oblivion, she trained in secret. Since she couldn't wear armor or weapons without attracting attention, she took up work as a seamstress and learned to sew a sturdy garment that would protect her without garnering too much notice. She also refitted a stiletto with the handle of an awl, allowing her to carry it without raising suspicion. By the time she began hunting her family's killers, she was quick with her stiletto and inconspicuous in her padded armor. She assassinated them one by one, each time soaking a piece of her garment in the blood of her latest victim. So there's a number of things in this world that have been basically forever stained by blood of victims. Or even the user at times, I think. Oh, Minoletta's Grimoire. Wonder if that means Minoletta is dead? And Little Savior, a unique shield. Little Savior was the nickname given to an Orlan warrior from the Guided Compass tribe, who defended Glenfathans and settlers alike during the Broken Stone War. He argued for peace to any who would listen. Few did, and so he reluctantly threw himself into countless battles, stalling aggressors while the defenseless fled. You bury your arm to the shoulder and you still haven't reached the bottom of the pile. So I guess all this gold just stays down here. Alright, so we have it fully mapped out, except for over here. Not that I can't tell what this is. Yeah, looks like that doesn't fill in, but still. We can see here, we've been tracking the statue of Audra as we come down here, and we can see finally the feet of the Audra statue. So through 15 levels, we saw this statue's fingers rising up above the earth, and then we saw its head, and we saw its shoulders and torso and arms and hands, and finally now we get to the legs and the feet. So this enormous statue goes through 15 layers of earth, basically. And that is the thing that was keeping this Audra dragon alive, and why it's an Audra dragon. Just a reminder that dragons take on the characteristics of wherever they spend their lives. So the sky dragon that we fought had blue scales because it spent its time in high on top of mountains and skies. The alpine dragon was white because it was in the snowy mountains, and the Audra dragon here, because of this Audra statue, has taken on the characteristics of Audra. Still don't know where I would find a bog dragon in this game, though I feel like I've been everywhere. Okay. So, that'll do it for the Endless Paths of Caed Nua. We are on level 15. There's nowhere else to go. We have cleared all floors of Caed Nua, and we defeated the Audra dragon at the bottom of it. We found the Master of Caed Nua, I believe, on level 14, and then the Audra dragon on level 15. So, that'll do it for this addendum to my Pillars of Eternity Lorethrough. Not sure how long this is going to be, but thank you as always for joining me. The last thing I have left to do, I would like to go through all of the character stories that we did not complete during the main playthrough. So hopefully you will join me for that. I will see you then. Bye, everybody.